Nole Nation, welcome into the Tuesday night episode of the Renegade Rundown with yours truly, George, and my beautiful co-host, Jen Santy, aka at Jen Santy 1890 on X. You can find her with all her hilarious tweets and cut ups and stuff she does. She watches all these podcasts, so we don't have to, and she gets just to the funny stuff. What's going on, Jen?
Hey, how are you?
Doing fine.
Good.
Had a bit of a bout with kidney stones over the
You
weekend, as a lot of
did, you
people saw.
did.
Literally thought I was gonna die there for a while, but we survived it and came out on the other side. Turns out you have to drink water.
You
This is a
do.
requirement as a human being. You can't just like stay up 20 hours a day drinking Red Bulls and Cokes and green slushies and stuff like that. You gotta have some liquid in there. So, anyways, no, everything's fine. It wasn't nothing crazy. Just gonna have to get a little stone taken care of here in the future. Unfortunately, I'm sure that episode will be a little different whenever whenever I actually pass it or whatever comes to pass, whether I go into the knife or pass
Are
it.
you gonna record
That'll be a
it?
different story. Am I gonna
You're
record
gonna,
it? Oh my
yeah, you're gonna
goodness!
like record it and like put it on like. I
I'll
mean,
tell you what. I may record
your
it just for my
fans, your
personal,
fans, yeah,
just
your
my
fans may
personal
want to
thing, just
know.
to watch it. But I don't know if that'll be one we release to the public. I'll just say that. Appreciate all the well wishes out there. People were really cool. I didn't know anything about it. This is my first time ever dealing with it, so I was really curious on what people thought. I thought I was really being a sissy because I was melodramatic. You should have seen me. I was screaming, asking for my mommy. My mom's
Oh,
asking me questions because, of course, she met me at the hospital. She's like,
oh
asking the normal
no.
questions you ask. It's like, Mom, I don't need that. Just tell me I'm not going to die. Like, I literally think I'm dying. It felt like somebody just had a knife in my kidney and was just jabbing it. But, anyways, we're going to survive. We're going to survive. People in the comments are talking about they want, no, Chuck Stone. We're not going to be passing any kidney stones on the podcast. Let's hope. But if I disappear, just know maybe I went to get a
Yeah,
Tylenol or something.
and yeah, they're right. You're drinking a Sprite. You're supposed to be drinking water.
Well, if you're going to drink anything but water, Sprite is one you're allowed to do. But no, believe me, I've been drinking like 2 gallons of water every day. But
So do you
yes,
have to like shut down any booze intake with that?
well, I don't drink, so that's an easy one. I
Oh,
drink very rarely. Like that. Literally the last time I drank was the LSU game down there in Orlando at Big Game James, who's going to join us at 8 Eastern. Yeah, he threw a pretty good party down there in Orlando, and yeah, I showed my butt on that one. So,
ooh.
but yeah, just rarely. It's got to be like the perfect circumstance. But
Oh, okay. Well, so I would scare you then.
oh, believe me, like it's not always like don't believe me. From the time I was like 15, oh kids, if you're watching, that's not a good idea. Don't start drinking when you're 15 years old. But till I was about 25, you know what I mean. I did my fair share of it. I don't know. It's like I woke up one day and I was just like, I'd rather not have a hangover. So, don't get me wrong, I'm no saint, but I put the bottle down, as Corey Smith would say.
Well, I have a life hack for that. I drink water and I mix it in with my wine, guys.
There you
You
go.
get
That is a brilliant.
hydrated. You get hydrated and you don't wake up with a headache. So I can drink my Chardonnay and enjoy myself.
So people have been loving your new addition you got from the Garnet and Gold store already. They're
Yeah,
making
well, this
comments.
isn't it,
Shoulders
but
out,
yeah,
Yes,
but this
both
isn't
shoulders are
it,
out.
guys. This is my Vanderpump shirt. This is
Oh,
my
that's
Vanderpump
right.
shirt.
That's right.
Yeah, this isn't my Garnet and Gold stuff. This is my Vanderpump shirt. Um, Vanderpump Rules starts, tonight. It's the premiere. I am a girl sometimes, guys. I know it sounds strange, but it's true. I do have a weakness, and it's reality TV. Okay. And it's
And
really only Vanderpump Rules, guys. It's only Vanderpump Rules.
yeah, and that's hilarious. I told Jen I promise I'll at least watch a couple episodes so I can at least get a little bit of the lingo down, maybe understand the jokes, and maybe I can throw out a Vanderpump's rules joke on the pod or on the show, if you will. It's more of a show than a podcast, and catch her off guard. Maybe we can make her spit out her her mystery drink one night.
It's not a mystery, guys. I've said it a
Well, no,
couple
the
times on the
insiders know.
show.
The insiders
Yeah,
know.
if you've watched this for a long time, you know what's in there. If the sun's out, there's a certain thing in there, and if the sun's down, there's another thing in there. I'm just saying.
And Angelo is just looking out. You're right. Sprite is not the best thing. So I will try and lay off on that. And if I get a break, I'll go grab a bottle of water and chug it on air. But you're absolutely right. Being hydrated, that's the number one thing for me right now. But as far as the news and what you all came here to talk about, the fun stuff, boy, I mean, I don't even know where to start. There's literally a million things that we could talk about. I figured me and you could just cover the breaking news stories, all the different bang topics, give a little bit of an opinion on it, have our discussion. Then James comes on. We can, go into whatever he wants to talk about. And then again at 9 Eastern for the third hour, we'll have Doug Rohan joining, and he can talk with us, and we can really get into what everybody's really curious about, that ACC suit, the amended filing that Florida State made, kind of their answer to the ACC's amended filing, where they just went scorched earth. It's a lot of the stuff we talked about on the show that we could not wait to see when it would come out, when it would be addressed. And they're already talking about it before we get to discovery. We don't have to wait. This response, it's like this was their first big shot in the chamber. And they touched upon it, and I can't wait to get into all of it. But yeah, I guess the first thing that we could talk about, and this is something that Jen brought up, and her and Jason talked about it for about 10 minutes, actually, I think, on the previous show. If you haven't seen that, the Jason Staples show we did, I believe it was Friday. Y'all were talking about UNC and how they play into this thing, and I'm sitting here thinking, let's get back to Florida State, but almost prophetically,
it really does. It really
here we
does.
are. So talk about it. What news came out?
So, North Carolina runs things a little different than we do, obviously, in Florida and a lot of other places. Their board of trustees, as we would refer to them, is actually a legislature body. So it's elected officials, right? The elected officials decided on Tuesday really, it was like last Tuesday, wasn't it? That was last Tuesday. Anyway, it was last week. It was a couple days ago, where the legislature said that everything, if North Carolina wants to leave, it has to all go through them. They have to submit plans. They have to show the financial implications should they not leave or should they go. And it also has to assure that NC State has a place to go before they can go anywhere. And that legislature has to approve and actually allow them to even start exploring or make any changes, right? So that's big. Now, Jason and I disagree. I can see the SEC taking 4 teams. I think that if they were going to take 4 teams right now, I could see them doing a Virginia Tech, Virginia, NC State, and North Carolina block, and then they would be done. The SEC would not take another school. I can definitely see that working out, because those 2 schools are so attached to each other. And that market, whether we want to believe it or not, I know as Florida State fans look at North Carolina and Virginia and laugh, but they are the most wanted schools. They really are. If they decided today and they could break away legally from the Virginia Techs and the NC States, they probably, one would be in the Big Ten, one would be in the SEC. I've said before that I think UNC is a better fit for the Big Ten. I really do. But their leadership there leans all the way SEC. I think that's where North Carolina wants to go. And I think the SEC would 100% take them. Now, would they want them to have a dancing partner? Because the SEC they're at 16 teams, right? They're at 16, right?
Well, I think they're 20 now that they've added, Texas, Oklahoma.
Oh, are they officially at 20? Okay. So
maybe it's 18. Don't make me lie, but I know they're getting up there.
I thought they were at 16 with those 2, but I don't know. Somebody in the chat can tell me where I'm wrong here, but
yeah, I could be wrong. I'm not standing on that. I just know they've added a ton of teams. It seems like I feel like I'm forgetting 2 teams. Didn't they add? They had Texas, Oklahoma. But is it just Texas, Oklahoma, or is there 2 more teams coming with them?
It was just Texas and Oklahoma, okay. So I thought it was at 16.
16 or 18. You might be absolutely right. We do this a couple times a show. But
he likes to argue with me and then has to realize that I'm right. because
Pretty much.
I usually am.
That
No,
is
I'm
an accurate assessment.
kidding. So for me, that's where I see this all going.
Bam.
I, I thought that domino with UNC would be huge. And I think that their head, or was it their chancellor? Was it their chancellor that came out and said what he said last night, right? He said
Right.
basically the same thing that the Florida State Board of Trustees said in their meeting that got them all this
And do you
criticism and said,
remember what this same guy said about Florida State last year
that they
about
are
all of our
barking.
barking?
Mhm.
My
Yeah, it's the
goodness.
same guy. Yeah. So it's so interesting. And I'm still waiting on the articles from Dan Wetzel, Pat Forty, talking about how these unwinning teams, and when was the last time UNC did a damn thing? They criticized Florida State for wanting out of the ACC when Florida State hadn't won the ACC since what was it, 2014, 2015, something like that in football? When was the
Yeah, I
fucking
believe
last
2015.
time?
Yeah.
When was the last time UNC did a damn thing in football? Please explain it to me, because I'm going to wait on their articles talking about how ungrateful UNC is when they haven't done shit in either basketball or football in a long ass time. I can't tell you when it was.
Oh yeah, they knew what
You
they
go
were
ahead,
doing.
George.
There was a
You go ahead, George. I
chance.
don't need to get on my rant.
No, I want you to keep going. I'll keep stoking the flame. No, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I love it. I love it when you go off because it's a joke. They were on their soapbox, but all they were doing was just they knew there was a chance that the ACC would do this, do that, so they were just trying to suck up, suck up. And the thing that's so damning, and why I say the ACC sinking, because for UNC of all schools to come out, I mean that's the boys' club right there. I mean
Yeah.
it was UNC. I mean that's where Chad Swofford, who we're going to talk about later, went to college. I believe that's where John Swofford went to college. That's the,
Oh yeah.
it was the North Carolina Duke basketball game that they met at in 2008 that sent us down this path with John Skipper. Of course, John Skipper, it makes sense. The opinions he had of course, ESPN doesn't have doubt against FSU. Of course, they didn't do wrong against the ACC, all this stuff. When you realize and you remember, oh, well, John Skipper was the guy that met with John Swofford outside of that basketball game, Duke UNC basketball game, and pretty much signed the death warrant for Florida State and Clemson and the rest of these teams that want to compete in football. But you said it. What have they ever done in football? Well, they ain't never done nothing. They ain't
Nothing.
never done shit.
Nothing.
But they
Nothing.
have done things in basketball. And so that's what it all went. And they even gave away those rights, the tier 2 and the tier 3 rights. I believe it came down to $82 million a
Yeah.
year for tier 2 and tier 3. So there's a million different, things we could talk about. It. We did 2 or 3 different episodes breaking all this down. And it's awesome that it's came out now that it's in black and white. And we'll get deeper and deeper into it. But I digress. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I mean, look, if basketball was a leading moneymaker and it mattered in any sense of the word, Duke would have been in the Big Ten years ago.
Well, the
Gonzaga
Big
would be in a
East.
conference.
Big
Gonzaga
East would
would
have
be in
been
a
the
conference.
SEC.
and Memphis would be in a conference. So please, guys, I don't want to hear this about UNC basketball. Nobody wants to hear this anymore. Florida State football fans can dine out on NC basketball all you want to, but I'm not doing it. And now, look, I do see that. I think that they could be, I guess, a moneymaker. They are wanted. But again, I want NC State and I want Virginia Tech to understand that the only reason you're even being looked at as a date is because of who you rode with. That's it. That's it. It's not because of what you're wearing. It's not because of what you've done. It's not how good your hair looks. It's because of whose car you came in. And that's all you're really doing.
So what are you thinking? You thinking UNC and Clemson? Are those the 2 that end up going the SEC? And then Florida State and well, we don't even have to talk about a running mate because it gets on my nerves how much people talk about it. It's all about Florida State to the Big Ten, but the SEC very much, from everything we've seen in the history, would add that second team with them.
I think the SEC is in a lot of flux right now. I think because of their saying, publicly, we're not going to expand anymore. And I get that. I can get why they wouldn't. But if North Carolina is interested, that's where they're going to expand. I know a lot of people think that the SEC is going to play some defense if Florida State goes to the Big Ten. I don't see that happening. I just don't. I think that relationship's burned. I I think the SEC has such a high opinion of itself that they think, just adding like a UNC, a Virginia, if they can make it work. Now, when you have to water it down with the NC States and the Virginia Techs of the world, that's going to be a problem. NC State, no offense, you guys ruined your shot when you had that vote for Cal and Stanford. And I actually think that burned some bridges with UNC as well. I do. I really do. I think that blindsided UNC.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like, for UNC to be putting this statement out, it's just, I can't harp on it enough. I mean, it's like the writing is on the wall, baby. This ship is going down.
I think Clemson and Miami's silence is deafening on this. The fact that UNC and, even Virginia Tech's AD said something, I mean, the fact that Clemson and Miami have been so quiet, Justin Hood, I think that I think if UNC leaves, the ACC definitely collapses. But I think Florida State leaving is going to collapse the ACC. I don't care what anybody says. It's going to be it's not going to be a big two. There's nothing they can do about that.
And if you guys don't know Justin Hood, he writes for Spear Addicts Media. We actually have a Substack. That's how I got started. That was my first thing, to kind of kick down the door. I started my own thing and just started writing articles. That's renegadereport.substack.com. Justin was just on Spear Addicts the other day. Did a great job. Kind of talked about everything they do over there. So make sure you go check out that episode. And we actually have a guy writing for us, Matt Champion. He's been writing quite a bit throughout the years. Really settled in. He started putting out some articles that have been doing some great numbers for us. We're actually going to introduce you to him here in a little bit, bring him up, and he can talk to you a little bit about what he's doing over there and what got him in there. So we're going to go ahead and bring him up for about 10 minutes, and you guys can meet Matt Champion, and we can talk about maybe what his next article is here along the lines of all this conference realignment. There's so much that goes on. And moving on from the UNC, moving on from the UNC, I guess press statement. I don't guess that's about all you could say about what they said, their press release. Moving on to that, we'll get more into our side of things. Florida State's amended filing. And I'm real curious, while we kind of have the floor all by ourselves, what Jen's first thoughts were. What immediately came to your mind when you got done with that meeting, whatever, you got a chance to read that 60-page beauty?
Well, one, it was 60 pages. That was wild. And two, I loved every minute of it. I was here for it. Look, I think Florida State woke up and chose violence. That's what I said. I said they woke up and chose violence and decided this is what we're going to do. I think they really scorched the ACC here. I think they've made some very good points and countered a lot of what the ACC had said with their own. The only thing that I wish I could have seen more of was when they did bring up the Swofford and ESPN and those vote thing in the amendment. I wish they had said like where they are getting that he did that on it. Is there proof that he lied to them? Is there substantial proof? Because to me, that was a huge accusation there. And I think that, and they don't have to do that in their amendments. And I understand that they don't need to prove what their evidence is. You don't do that before a trial. I get that. But I would have liked to see them at least say alluding to in details or saying in attachment this is where we're getting this information from. But again, I get it that they're not going to show all their evidence, but they could have at least.
Well, there's, not to stop you, but there is one thing they put in there that is very important. They did specify and lay out in one of the I don't even know what you would talk about it. One of the amendments there that, Florida State, the Boosters Club, anything around them is not beholden whatsoever to anything to do with ESPN. We're not associated with ESPN. We have a deal with the ACC, and that's, that's what our deal is with. So, a lot of that stuff, like you're talking about, was there really this that happened or not? You're right. There's going to have to be a text message or email,
Yeah.
but they did make clear that all that stuff they did with ESPN, and especially the 27 through 2036 stuff, like that's out the window. Like we can't, what they promised, Swofford or whatever has no bearing on what FSU does going forward. But we're going to try and bring Matt back up again.
Look, but what I'm saying is I hope they have the evidence to back up that claim in the amendment, because that's a huge one. And that's one that I think would show major bombs. Now, that could also be something they put in the amendment because maybe they do have the evidence. I wouldn't advise or think that anybody would put that in an amendment that you file in a court without said evidence. So my guess would be that they do have that, and that is because that would make somebody want to settle quick.
Oh yeah.
If it's true and you can prove it. So that's what I hope. I hope it is true, and I hope you can prove it. That's kind of where I was going with that.
Oh yeah, you're right. That smoking gun stuff, that's a little bit, that's if they want to actually, they're pretty much call our bluff or us call their bluff. But the fact that they're mentioning it and they're pointing it out, amazing. Sorry to cut you off. What's up, Matt? Thanks for joining us. I know you've been working on some great articles. You probably got an article on this subject, but we just wanted to bring you on and let you tell the people a little bit about yourself, kind of what you've done in the past and what you've got going on at renegadereport.substack.com. Do you have any particular articles on this in the works or anything?
Awesome, y'all. I'm glad that I'm on here, and thank you for letting me be a part of the team. So I graduated from Florida State 2013, lifelong Seminole fan. I was a Seminole as soon as I was in diapers, and come from a long line of FSU alums. I wrote for Tomahawk Nation for a little bit, kind of like as a fan, and then I put it down for almost 10 years. And the crazy thing was, George put up on Twitter about wanting a writer, and I had something telling me that I just needed to message him and get my shot at it. And he accepted.
Absolutely, man. It's been a blast to get, there's only so much time in the day between all the live streams and stuff. I love writing the articles, and I've read some of your stuff. Like I said, I put that thing out there. You reached out. It's been a blast. Is there anything in particular you're excited? Anything we got coming for the people they can look forward to here in the next week or so? Buddy?
Did we lose him?
I think we might have lost him, but that's Matt, guys. We appreciate you for jumping on. If you guys aren't already subscribed, it's renegadereport.substack.com. Matt does a great job. He's got a bunch of great articles. He just did one on the ACC schedule release. He did one breaking down, a little bit of this realignment stuff and how it compares to a certain action movie out there. So it was pretty funny. He's got some good stuff out there, and he's just getting started. So it's 100% free to sign up at renegadereport.substack.com. You can donate. There's paid memberships, but if you see some kind of pop up or nothing, fear not. Just click continue reading, or enter your email address, and nothing will ever pop up again. And again, hit that like button, hit that share, and Jen's always right. That's pretty much what we got going on here. But yeah, we were getting into
t-shirts.
We were getting into the Florida State side of things. Matt said his power went out, so we hope he gets that figured out. But yeah, man, I'm just super excited. Like that first thing was kind of the first filing. It was like it just all kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It was just precedent. It was just legal jargon, kind of, doing this and that. But this filing, no, they really went scorched towards the fact that they brought up Chad Swofford, by name, and kind of the whole,
all of it.
The fact, that we got on here and broke down for y'all. And in case you weren't here or forgot, Chad Swofford was in the mailroom over there. Okay. And then all of a sudden, this conversation happens after Raycom gets dumped by the SEC because they see the future. They want ESPN producing their stuff, even though they're with CBS. Well, it worked out, and look, they got all these crazy deals. Well, this all started the ACC, and this is kind of the gist of what they put in this amendment, this amended filing. The ACC was Chad Swofford, but mostly Raycon's life raft. They were their preserver, and Swofford was in the mailroom. We give up our third tier rights. The first deal they made, all of a sudden in 2012, he's director of business leadership or something like that. 2016, the ACC network thing comes. He takes another promotion, and on till now. He's literally the VP of Raycom. He is Raycom just about. And it's just like to think there's not an email or a text message or something in there to corroborate this to what Jim was saying a minute ago is nuts. It's in there. The ACC does not want it to come to that. But it's just, I cannot wait. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to talk to James when he gets here. I can't wait to see what Jen's about to say. It's an exciting time. The writing is on the wall.
What I'm about to say, God bless. There's a lot of people going, please don't say it, whatever it is about to come out of your mouth. But
don't say it.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Look, I think that one, like I was saying, I think in that amendment, I don't think you put that filing in there unless you have the proof. I also think the other thing is Florida State wouldn't do this if they didn't think they could win or have a chance to win or have a chance to bring that amount down. That's just, let's just start from there. Or if they had a landing spot. So again, anybody saying that Florida State's going to the Big 12, I don't really have anything for you. Now, could I see the big time schools from the ACC and the Big 12 maybe trying to get together and forming their Big 3 maybe? Could be, but I don't think there's enough in the Big 12 to do that. So I don't know where that would even come from or how that would work. Then what would you relegate everybody else into, like a new Big East? I mean, I don't know.
This Adrian guy in the comments, he thinks we're super overconfident. We're going to have egg on our face when all this doesn't work out. I get it, man.
Oh.
But look, everybody's entitled to their opinions, but we've been talking about this for years behind the scenes, since I've had my site and started a YouTube channel and all that for over a year, working on a year and a half. We've been talking about it. All the things are on the wall there. If you saw James at Den Media Group, he's going to be joining us here in about 30 minutes. If you got to see his show with TJ Altimore, where they broke down all the numbers, and when you look at the different financial disadvantages that FSU has been put under over the past 10, 15 years by the ACC and their decisions, and how the disparities between the different different conferences and the ones that signed with the big networks and didn't sign these crazy long deals. It's like, the Pac-12 is gone. The Big 12 is evaporating daily. It's like, I don't think it's going to take. It's to the point where it would be an upset to me if Florida State. I don't think. Here's what it is. I don't think people realize. Here's what's going on. That Florida State is leaving regardless. Regardless, it doesn't matter if they've got to pay $600 million. Florida State is leaving. So you can talk about egg on your face. Yeah, maybe they will have egg on their face, and that egg will be $500 million. But I just don't see it. I just don't see ESPN ruling to go through what it's going to have to go to. Chad Swofford may have to end up taking the stand. Could you imagine Chad Swofford and John Swofford taking the stand and having to defend this shit?
They won't.
No, they'll never happen. There'll be a settlement. But it's just, for the people out there that are under the notion that this is a win or lose to see if Florida State gets to leave kind of thing. No, this is about, how much is it going to cost Florida State? And, is there going to be a sieve of whatever, $40, $1 million coming off the back end because they legally owe it to the ACC, et cetera, stuff like that. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that there's a smoking gun there. Between John Skipper and the people we had, can you imagine getting subpoenaing ACC officials and everything else to come get cross-examined? Let's get, what's his name? What's the assistant director to the NCAA? What's his name? A guy that used to work at Florida State, I'm pretty sure.
Will Cox.
Imagine getting him on the stand. How can you defend it?
Let me do it. Excuse me, Stan Wilcox. Did you ever go watch a practice done by Willie Taggart? I'm only asking for a friend. Did you ever see how he plans his game days, his away games? Did you ever like vet him on that? Because apparently, not not scheduling walkthroughs was a well-known issue of his. So you did no vetting, you did no anything. You just wanted to screw us, and you let us just take it on the chin and then continue to do it.
Yeah, literally, figuratively, and even if you think of a nasty way, they took it like that too. That's how they lined us up. But yeah, guys, we're not beating up on Adrian. We have fun. This is a community. If you have a opinion one way or the other, unless you get nasty, we're gonna converse and go back and forth. You don't have to necessarily pay for a super chat to get up here on the screen, but we appreciate that, and those all get up on the screen. In case it's just absolutely ridiculous and something you're trying to get me in trouble to make me say. But Adrian Fleming says they screwed us. All the schools in the ACC with that deal. And that here's where I'm going to have to totally disagree with you, man. They didn't. Here's who they screwed. They screwed Florida State. They screwed Clemson. To some degree, they screwed a Miami team. Not really, because they're private and they have the research funds and all these teams. But what they did is they screwed teams that want to compete at the highest level. They want to make an attempt to sign a top 5 recruiting class year in, year out. The Wake Forest of the world, the Syracuse of the world, maybe not Syracuse, looks like they're making an effort, but these schools like Wake Forest, they just love getting $40 million a year. That's great. And they get to be in the ACC competing on the highest level and get to play Florida State and Miami and Clemson every year. They negotiated for the bottom half. They signed a long-term deal that just was in spite of everything that was in the interest of the conference of Florida State. It was all just in the interest of the Swoffords and Raycom, any way you want to look at it. And also the Tobacco Road teams. And UNC to a certain degree, even at that point in time, but at now in this day and age, the gap has come, such that 7 to 12 million they were willing to fold for, even though it was long term. But it's like they signed this long-term deal just to edge out what the SEC already had back then. Just to edge them out, they signed this crazy long-term deal. So what the hell did you think was going to happen in 10, 15, 20 years down the road? You think the SEC wasn't going to renegotiate? Their deals were a quarter this length. So yeah, they didn't screw all the teams. They screwed the top third. And also another thing, like I was saying, if you watch James' episode with TJ Altimore, a lot of these schools have endowments that help them. I'm not sure the exact numbers, why I can't wait to get James on to talk about this topic. But some of these schools have, if you got a $10 billion endowment, then, you can afford to give your athletic department or your football team $10 million, because that's only a tiny percentage of what you have. And there's a certain amount of interest that you can spend each year. Florida State doesn't have that. We're a new blood. We're trying to climb the ranks. So we need to compete at the highest level of football. That's what we've got. And you just can't compete on a $50 million disparity. We can't make up for it with a well of money that we have buried. We don't have a third of an oil well in Texas or 2/3 of an oil well, whatever the case may be. We're not, Duke, where we've had, 200 years of top flight academics. We were middle of the road in the 80s and 90s. We came a long way. And a lot of these stats I'm saying, this is stuff I learned on James's show. So y'all have to go watch Den Media Group. He had TJ Altimore on. The dude is a genius with numbers. They really went through all this different stuff, the different endowments for all the different schools, just kind of where Florida State falls in line. If they were in this conference, if they were in that conference, well, what if you added, what if they got paid Big Ten money? Where would they stack amongst the Big Ten? And no matter where you put us, we'd be towards the top. And when it comes to academics, middle of the road. You put us in the SEC, I believe they said we'd be towards the top, not over Florida. I believe the top third. If you put us in the Big 12, we'd be like the #1 academic academy in all of the Big 12. And this is Florida State. So I think a lot of older people think, not, talking smack. I'm working on 40 now. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people think about Florida State, how it was in the 80s and the 90s. And again, y'all have to check out this episode with Big Game James and TJ Altimore. But, it's a different area. They're moving forward. They're trying to move forward with all this AAU stuff with research funds. Number 53 in the nation when it comes to education. So that's on top of football. So if you're carrying water, Florida State did its part. It raised its level, its academics, everything to be, a middle ground, work towards the front side of the ACC. And on the back end, the negotiations for the athletics and the money they needed to compete. Let's talk about the conference championship games. Where was the ACC commissioner out there stomping for Florida State, talking about how amazing this defense is? No, it wasn't. You got 2 3-hour SEC commercials.
Is he still in witness protection, or have we found him?
I haven't seen a single statement from him since I think he made one single one. I can't even remember.
Oh, when Florida State wanted to fall, he was whining about that.
Initially,
but, yeah, but like he hasn't been anywhere, has he?
And Buckshot Kid, I believe that's his Twitter @ it's at TJ Altimore, so that's why I keep saying that. I don't know the guy personally. We want to have him on here at some point in time. But if not, if he doesn't go by TJ, that's my bad. That's just, I believe his Twitter @ is at TJ Altimore. So if you're not following him, go give him a follow. He's the numbers guru. And like I said, James has always used his stuff and had him on his show today. So if you haven't caught that, make sure you go to Den Media Group and check that out as always. What's next on the docket? You know, people talked a lot of shit about helicopters, Jen. You know, I don't know whose helicopter it was that we were using, if the team owned it or rented it. I believe we owned it. So that's the reason it wasn't this big giant one we've had for a while.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Norvell's it had a big bubble. I forget what they call those helicopters, but just what you needed to jump around the state of Florida.
Catch me getting in one now. I can tell you that.
Get from here to there, but they wanted to make a big deal. Well, Mario rents his, and look at it. It's big. It's got like this whole door on it and stuff. Well, Mike Norvell, you know, all of a sudden we've got 2 jets. I believe one's already active, and now he's in the big helicopter. What have you thought about all the jets sitting around in California for breakfast, Texas at lunch, back over to Florida, back to Florida State to take care of some this or that, and you're up to here, up there. It's been pretty amazing moving at an elite level. Like, you know, there's nobody doing it at a higher level right now than him.
What do I think about it? Well, I think Coach Norvell deserves that. He deserves some pampering. He shouldn't be like on public flights or having to deal with flying on some bubble that almost looks like a weather balloon. Like, we don't need that. So good for him. He needs the pampering. He should probably get like, maybe a masseuse on board too for him.
Oh yeah.
I feel like whatever he needs, he should get, and good for him. Good for you. Good for the coaching staff. Y'all get on them private jets. I wish that was my lifestyle. I do. I was born in the wrong line. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's been a long time coming. Somewhere out there, Jimbo Fisher was like, man, if I had that shit when I was at Florida State, Lord have mercy, I'd have never left. Well, sorry about it. Yeah, he's been it's been awesome just to see the amount of places and the guys that he's been visiting, just checking in on linebackers here, D-line there. Also, tour of duty getting started. We just came off a huge junior day recruiting weekend that I'm going to bring up a list, and we're going to talk about some of those big guys that came through probably when James gets on later. Have you got to see any of those tour of duty videos since they've started working out?
Some, not a lot. I mean, there's only so many men working out videos I can watch. I'm just saying.
Oh, come on. Are you trying to hide something here? Did I touch a nerve there? No, man.
No, I mean, I watch a little bit of it, but it's not like, I mean, I have to work out on my own. I don't want to watch other people do it.
No, I hear you, but I think the tour of duty and this time of year, what I was getting at, I guess I wanted to talk about some of the comments. Did you see what Malik Benson said about the tour of duty when he got his opportunity to speak to the media today?
I did.
Yeah, see, exactly. For a guy to come from Alabama with Nick Saban and a playoff run that they just had, say what you want about how they got there, to come in and say that, pretty much that this is like nothing they've ever been through, and they can see, oh, wow, they can really see why Florida State was so successful, and it really kind of, ensured they made the right decision by how hard and how difficult and how awesome it is. That really makes you feel good about this strength and conditioning staff that we already knew was elite I mean, we've been trying to tell people about Storms. When you see an NFL player, I believe, don't slaughter me if I get this wrong. I believe it's pronounced Brees Hall, the defensive end for the Jets. A bookend along with Jermaine Johnson, who just made his first Pro Bowl, for a matter of fact. Pretty amazing, Jermaine Johnson's rise. He's going to just tear the league up. He got the Pro Bowl this year. All Pro will be the next. But for Brees Hall to get his first kind of primetime interview, he was on NFL Network. I forget exactly who he was talking about, but they, pretty much asked him who's somebody that was important in their development, how did they get here, et cetera, et cetera. The first guy that comes out of his mouth is Josh Storms, built by Storms. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I don't think people really realize how important the tour of duty and what Coach Storms does for these guys. They come out of this thing different people. Like all you see online is guys hands on hips and guys standing there, sweating and stuff. And not to denigrate anything that a military person does. And I know some people don't like the terminology. I could do neither here nor there with it. How it's called tour duty, but there's something to getting pushed to your mental limits. Like when you think, oh, well, I just cannot do anymore. Like if you were left to your own devices, if there's nobody there, you wouldn't do anymore. You think you'd go into exhaustion, fall over and die, and that would be it. When you figure out that you can go past that and keep fighting through that, and you've got your brothers all kind of there with you. If you could read 100 books on it, you could watch 100 different podcasts. That's what that David Goggins guy, that's his whole thing. He's made $1 million on putting out there that mindset and stuff. There's definitely something to it. And coming right behind having the Navy SEAL come in, right before it starts. I mean, you couldn't have set it up any better. And it's just, I get so excited. It was the same exact feeling last year when we were hearing about Brock Glenn at tour duty, picking up 60-year defensive tackles off the ground and pushing them to continue fighting. And you're hearing the same thing about Luke Cromenhawk. I'm telling you right now, we can't talk specifics, but I'm telling you right now, the things I'm hearing about Luke Cromenhawk and what he's doing behind the scenes, he's the real deal, guys. He just got his 5th star. The airtime, but I just super excited by all these, kind of workouts and everything with tour duty. But anyways, the floor is yours. Is there anything in particular as far as recruiting or the workouts, getting things going? Anything you just want to talk about as we have about 15 minutes here before James joins us?
Okay, so I love the Cam Riley visit that's going to come up this weekend, right? And Amari Williams is going to announce his decision, and we'll see where he goes.
January 3rd.
February 3rd.
Excuse my language. February 3rd. I digress.
I'm excited to see how that goes, if they can close on him. I'd like to see that. So I guess we'll see.
And if folks don't know, Cam Riley is the 6'5". I'm not even sure if this is right, but he's like 6'5", 240, 250 pounds. Do I have that right? Linebacker out of Auburn. Just an absolute stud he's that experienced. He's that linebacker that we've been talking about. People are kind of upset. We got Sean Murphy. I absolutely love the get. I love it. You got to bring in that clay, that elite clay to build. But this guy, Cam Riley, if I'm not mistaken, he's that dude that has the experience and everything else, and is also just an absolute freak athlete.
Yeah, any linebacker, I'm going to be all over it. But as far as recruiting right now, I guess it's going to be a little slow, right?
No, it's crazy right now. It's wide open balls to the wall.
Well, what I mean. It's not going to be one every
as far
day
as
or
news,
anything like that.
No commitments. Yeah. No. As far as commitments and stuff like that, there's not going to be a ton to report. There aren't going to be a ton of commitments. But as far as the staff, yeah, it's balls to the wall. They had 2 junior days in a row. We just had, another junior day this week. Seems like last weekend was more publicized and there was more guys that we knew about coming to visit. This guy, there was a lot of new names, a lot of guys they had just offered or really kind of recently been getting in touch with. And they had a bunch of guys. They had a bunch of guys in over the weekend for this junior day. But yeah, absolutely. Cam Riley, 6'5", 242 pounds. class of 2020 linebacker as a high school prospect. He was number 222 nationally, according to 247 Sports. The number 14 outside linebacker, number 10 player in Alabama. I'm looking at him at 6'5", 242. I'm guessing maybe they're going to bring him in for an edge guy. I'm not sure. I'm just going to be 100% honest. I haven't got to watch the film on this guy yet. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to play that inside linebacker role, that 4-2-5 linebacker, if they're bringing him for an edge guy. But that'll be another good one to talk to James about. But yeah, he's an absolute stud. I can't wait to get him in here and see if we can get him to commit to the Noles as this transfer portal class keeps growing.
Yeah. We got a lot of cane trolls in here today, apparently.
Yes, they're nonstop. I get a little mad at myself sometimes when I accidentally click the thing and put them up there. I saw somebody brought up the recruiting rankings on 3. I kind of mentioned it earlier when I brought up Luke Kromenhoek. They did upgrade their rankings. Of course, Luke Kromenhoek became a 5-star on the on 3 ratings. But as far as overall, no, it didn't really play out in FSU's favor. I think they dropped to like 12 or something. But guys, this is 2024. If you guys watch this show, we've talked about it a ton. Do we want to improve our high school recruiting? Yes. But are we going to sign 5 extra guys out of high school, 6, 7 extra guys out of high school, like a Miami, just
All
so we can
3
beat our
stars.
chest and say,
Yeah.
"Ooh, we're number 4. Yay." Who gives a shit if you're number 4? If your blue chip ratio is 40%, that's what the hell we're trying to get away from. We're trying to get that thing up. We brought in something close to like 71% blue chip ratio when you put together high school and transfer portals. You signed 40 some odd blue chips, you're 30 blue chips, whatever it came to be. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but you killed it. You did great. Okay. You didn't sign 15 3-stars out of high school. We don't need to be off-season champs. So yes, did we drop a little bit? Some guys in the 247 rankings and the on 3 rankings, sure. But when you look at our portal class and our high school class and the guys we brought in, the talent level on this team has skyrocketed. I cannot impress upon you enough. Like, there was a certain jump from 20 to 21 and you saw it. And then there was a big jump from 21 to 22, just the overall level of talent. There's been 15, 20, 25 guys every single year from 20, 21, 22, 23 drop off the bottom of the roster. And when those guys drop off, Mike Norvell has replaced it with about 20 high school guys and 10 to 15 portal guys. And this team has got ridiculously better each and every year. I just don't understand why people think it isn't going to happen again. And it's not like, when you have something that, like, when you have a championship type team and then you can go out and improve yourself, yeah, that's when you get to the next level. That's when you can have a chance to go and like dominate these teams like people are wanting to see, not be in so many of these close games. That's how you can become a Georgia or Alabama. You stack talent. People want us to do it, though, exactly how Alabama did in the past and how Georgia's doing it now. But it's just a new time and age. Look who won the national championship this year. Michigan. Last year, Michigan was top 10 and not like number 3, number 2, but I believe they were somewhere around 10, like number 8 or number 9, something like that. They were top 10 in the portal rankings and the high school rankings. And they had a bunch of guys that stayed with the program. Who has better retainment than Florida State? Do I need to go through the Battles End list again? Because our retainment is through the charts. What they've done with Battles End, I might have said this on the show, but somebody tell me in the chat, have we ever lost a starter? Have we lost somebody that ever as a transfer that Florida State and Mike Norvell and this whole thing just been like, man, that's just going to really hurt us as the ball club? Have we ever lost somebody that wouldn't have been like the 15th, 16th, 20th best guy we brought in that year? Like, it just, guys, it's coming. How hyped are you getting for DJU after hearing Malik Benson and hear about these people, different guys? I could go on a whole rant about DJU right now, but we'll save it for like later in the show. But they're just underrating. People are just, I think they're afraid to get too excited too soon about this team. But like, they're talking about DJU like he was a scrub. Like, He wasn't. He had a ton of success in spite of everything that was going wrong at Clemson. Like, look at what Clemson looked like the second he wasn't there. How excited are you for Malik Benson, DJU, and this offense to like shut the haters up? That's what I want the spring game to hear.
I can't. I mean, I can't wait for that. I want to see what these receivers do with DJU. I think it's going to be so fun. And yes, like the DJ is not going to be Jordan Travis. Nobody is saying he is, but he's different than Jordan Travis. He's a different player than Jordan Travis. So you can't hold that against him or make him better than Jordan. That doesn't. They're different people. So I want to see how these wide receivers work with him, and I honestly want to see him. I want to see him in those short yardage plays. That's what I want to see. I want to see how well he picks those up, because I think this is going to be really good, and I think that we're going to have a good time this year. I mean, are we going to go all year without having a loss? Maybe not. I haven't said that. I mean, we haven't watched a loss, and I don't count Georgia as a loss really since what, October of last year. So this is going to be different for us if we actually have to see one. I don't think we see one, but that could just be me.
Yeah, look, I mean, go through the schedule. Let's talk about it. The schedule came out. We start off Georgia Tech. You should win that game. After that, Boston College. You should win that game.
Yes.
You're going to be favored in that game. You pull SMU out of the ACC. You should be favored in that game. Mm-hmm. Miami, are we worried about the Miami Hurricanes?
Nope.
No, you're going to be favored in that fucking game. You've got
I don't think they're going to be favored, but I don't think they're going to win.
Say that again?
I don't think Florida State's going to be favored in that game.
You think Miami's going to be favored over Florida State?
The media loves Miami. They do this every year. They do this to us every fucking year.
I'm on the right side of one of these disagreements, guys. All right, let me hear it in the chat. Okay, y'all don't forget this moment. Okay, I'm going to be right one time. No way in hell Florida State is an underdog when Miami comes to Doak Campbell, or we go to Miami, or whichever one it is.
Go look at Miami's schedule and then come back and talk to me about it, because
their schedule is one thing, but as far as a betting favorite, they could be undefeated and we could have a loss. I still don't think it. You may be right, but I'm staking my claim right now. We'll be at least a touchdown favorite.
I'm telling you, I think Miami's going to be favored, not because I think Miami's going to win. I think.
I know you're not. I know you're not saying that. Just to, if anybody thinks that's what I'm saying, no. I get what you're saying. You're just saying the media and Vegas may have them favored. I think no way. I think there's no way Vegas will pick the Canes over us, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, look, Vegas may put a lot of money on it, but I think, I know they're playing at Doak South. I know this is going to be a Florida State win, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the media loves them some Miami.
So here's how it could happen. If we were like a field goal favorite and $1 billion came in on Florida State, it could push the line to Miami being favored. No.
I think Miami's gonna be favored in this game.
No, that would open it up. That would push it. That would push it our ways.
Miami's gonna have 2 losses. Have you seen their schedule? They're not gonna have 2 losses before this game. I mean, well, they probably will. But I mean,
it's Cristobal. He lost to Middle Tennessee State.
Georgia Tech. I'm saying on paper, if you're looking at who should be favored, if we're looking at it right now, Miami should be undefeated by the time they play Florida State. I'm not kidding. With all their chest beating, with their Cam Ward edition, with their recruiting class and all this bullshit that they've been feeding us, they should be undefeated this year. They should win the ACC by, they should go into the ACC championship and win it by what, 30?
To hear them talk, you would damn sure think it. There is no doubt about it. Well, screw it. I was going to pull their schedule up, but yeah. I don't trust them. I just don't trust them not to lose some game they should have won before they play us. And then there you go. They screwed us this year. They were supposed to be undefeated and help us out and all that good stuff this year. And it did not happen. They won. How many games did they win? 6?
7. They got that big old 7 this year. They got the 7. And then they lost 6 because they lost to that powerhouse that is Rutgers.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bobby comes in with the $1.99
Because Bobby knows
super
I'm right.
chat.
He knows I'm right
This
about this.
segment is killing me.
They're going to be
No.
undefeated when they go play Florida State and then lose every game afterwards. You freaking watch.
Oh, that's right. Hell, they play UF to start the season. They got to
Hell
get through
yeah.
UF before they can even get to us unscathed.
But, I mean, should
Ooh,
they
and
beat
Louisville?
UF on paper?
Oh, no. We may have to put some money on this one. They got to play Louisville and Florida.
Look.
They're losing one of those games.
Look, I would not, as me, if I'm picking a game, I pick Florida over Miami and I'm picking Louisville over Miami because of coaching. Right there. End of story right there.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So if they lose that game, then boom.
Will
you know
they
what I
be-
mean? It's over with.
Look,
Then Vegas
okay,
isn't going to put them as a favorite.
maybe not Vegas, but ESPN loves them some Miami. They love them some Miami's back stories. I hear Miami is back more than I hear, Tennessee is back. It's insane.
Well, we have a celebrity. We have got our guy, Big Game James. Give it to the damn fullback. The dude I've been rambling on like the whole time, first hour before he got on here. You guys got to go check out his episode today with Tony Altimore. I'll say it right. It was a killer episode on how the numbers and everything work. But welcome to the show, man. What's going on, my brother? God, I can't talk today.
Rooms junkie. Trying to pack for Vegas, man.
Pack for Vegas. Oh, snap. You going to see our boy Josh out there, huh?
I'm trying to get up with Josh. I'm going for the Super Bowl. So
right.
I'm not going for fun.
I said we had a celebrity coming on. You know what I mean? Let the people know what you got going on, man. Where are we going out to Vegas to do? How we living?
Fun, man. What the hell are people talking about, man? I work. I cover the Super Bowl, man. Do you think it's easy to go out here and go to gifting suites at Nike and Puma and Adidas and go hang out at Drea's and drink and go to Maxim parties?
Hold on, what? Hold on.
Do you think this is fun?
Maxim parties? What? Now I know Maxim made a comeback, but what are we talking about here? Like,
I'm just saying,
Maxim parties?
It's a lot of hard work, man. Like I don't write anymore, but
it's hard, all right.
The media person in the NFL is tough, man.
I hear you, man. One day you'll get to cover your very own Jaguars down there at the Super Bowl. That's the dream, huh?
I doubt that happens. But it will be fun, though. I mean, I always joke people. I'm actually I've become a fan of the NFL as I've had to cover it. But I'm really not a fan of the Jags per se or any NFL team. I'm just kind of what it is. But a lot of people complain about it. A lot of people complain about it, but man, this year of football has been one of the best years of football that I've had in quite some time. The high school team I coached, we went to the state championship. Miami sucked. Florida sucked. Florida State went 13-0 before everything got snatched from us, and the Jags were pretty decent. Hey, it is what it is, but it's kind of cool.
I love it, man. I don't know how much of that conversation you caught, but Jen was talking about how she thinks it's possible that Miami could be favored over us when we face them, because I just said as an aside, there's no chance. And we got into the principles of that, and that led to people asking the question of who they think will win that Florida-Miami game. I think we might have even talked about this before, but it seems like things have changed quite a little bit. Florida has found their footing a little bit, got a few guys to come back here or there. What do you think about that conversation? You think there's any chance Miami could be unscathed when we head down to Doak South and may even have a chance to be favored over the Noles coming in there in a reloading year?
Let me go look at their schedule. I don't think they'll be unscathed, but I think they'll have a better record. I think they'll be similar to what they were this year.
That was my opinion on it, but
outside of a few hiccups, Miami. See, I mean, they play Florida, Florida A&M, Ball State, USF, Vatech, Cal. I think they'll lose. Personally, I joked with my friends. I think they're Adrian, like the history major in me is coming out. Everybody's talking about look at the history since black people could play football.
Oh
Look
my
at the
God,
history
that
since
drives me nuts. They want to
look at
bring
the
up
history of both of us since we were alive. Like of the rivalry. Like I don't know how old Jen is. I know it's like bad luck or something to ask a woman how old she is, but I was born in 1984. So let's look at from 1984 to now and what the record is. And yeah, I mean, whatever. Like same thing with Florida. Like look, it's but going back to not the History Channel, the here and now. Miami's schedule is set up to help them. They should at worst case, and I doubt this will happen, they'll have 3 losses. But that would mean me saying that I think they're going to lose to South Florida, and I'm not going to troll them like that. Or they're going to lose to Cal. I do, however, believe Virginia Tech might be a challenge, just because Virginia Tech historically has been, well, not historic, like during recent history and even when they were in the Big East, was a channel. And if you've been following both teams since the 80s, then never mind. It's just inaccurate. Hell, for half of the 90s, for over half of the 90s, they were on probation.
Yeah.
They didn't beat us when they were on probation. We dominated them in the 90s. So if you've been really watching this, then you would not have made your statement. You would just say you like the rivalry. And I can respect that. Miami should be better, though. Miami should be better. And they've got the talent to where the only time that they'll meet somebody that's close to them would be in Louisville and us. But I don't believe in their coaching. That is where I feel they are. I think they have a good defensive coordinator. I don't like their offensive coordinator. And it's not that he's a bad OC. I don't think he's allowed to be the OC that he's used to being in this system. He is a guy, he's an air raid guy that is under a coach who has a run first mentality and a conservative mentality, which both of those is nothing wrong with both of those situations. But if you actually look at this, like it doesn't fit well for what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. But Cam Ward should be all right. But if I'm being honest, the excitement should be there for Cam Ward. I'm not a hater. Cam Ward is good, but Cam Ward, the trolling back and forth, like Cam Ward is coming with a team, like he led a Washington State team to a bowl game. And Washington State, who was actually, if I remember correctly, make sure. So I don't like saying statistics. I don't like pulling statistics out my ass. Make sure I'm right. Well, last year was 2023, right?
Yep.
2022.
Trying to get the schedule pulled up here because it's really convenient. It's got everybody in there. So
yeah, so I was feeling right. Washington State was a bowl team in 2022. If I was correct, they weren't in 2023. And Miami probably should have won some games, but the same guy that they blame for turning the ball over, Cam Ward doesn't throw the interceptions, but he fumbles it. And he's more of a pocket presence guy. Again, they should be better. I think Miami's a 3-loss team. I can't speak. I don't hate I would have to hate Miami more than I hate Florida to come out and just say I think Florida's going to win right now. And frankly, I don't think Cam Ward is the next Tyler Van Dyke. I think Cam Ward is exactly who they just had not too long ago. The quarterback who transferred from Houston. He was petite as well. I just hope he doesn't tear his ACL up. But there's things to like. There's excitement to have with Miami. But if you're being truthful, there has not been a damn thing that you have seen outside of the drunk and Guidry that has made you believe that you have a great coaching staff. And even then, upon further review, and I think this is why I think he's a good coach and he's a better coach than what your defensive talent even shows, is that you went into a situation with 2 of your top opponents having a bye week and you completely flipped the script on the type of defense that you ran, which is great coaching that you were able to adjust to that. But once people caught up and found out about that, your defense could not save you against Louisville because that's what they were used to seeing. And Louisville had film. And when you went up against somebody who had better to equal talent, you lost. And I was the Florida State. And what's crazy is I'm saying that from a development standpoint. from a recruiting standpoint, Miami has superior talent, which is an even bigger indictment on your coaching. Which, again, it's not your players, it's your coaching that is the biggest problem with the University of Miami. Until proven otherwise. But I think he will recruit well enough. Y'all will keep him around because he's able to do that false bravado shit that y'all do at times. And he's gonna luck around and win 10 games in a year. It's gonna be like a North Carolina 10-win season. It's gonna be a 10-win season that gets you absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
Texas, my bad. I apologize. You're right. Texas, but ask me what I think about Jimbo Fisher outside of Jameis Winston, Bobby. I apologize for reading your comments for you. But I don't think Jimbo Fisher's that great of a coach. I think he's a better offensive coordinator than he was. But I also think that was a good win for you guys for Miami, Texas A&M. I won't take that away from you. But just like I won't take away a win like that, I won't take away Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech didn't just beat you because you didn't take a knee. They still had to drive 70 yards in less than a minute. And that Georgia Tech team is better. That Georgia Tech team had opportunities during the whole game. Yeah, 13-0 season got us nothing but we beat Miami. Like did that RQ 305. I want to ask you something because when you say that, like we're still better than you, right? What did your season net you with all your recruiting classes? Your season netted you nothing. All that talent, and you still got a chance. You had to go to but you lost to Rutgers. All that talent. And actually, our 13-0 season, do you hate us that bad that y'all suck and fucked up our strength of schedule? Is that how much you hate Florida State? Because that's what happened. We're 13-0 with nothing to show for it because y'all suck. Beating you did absolutely nothing for us. That's your bragging. That's your bragging? Man, boy, fatherless behavior. I'm sorry, man. Like, you be better than that. Like, y'all used to be a pro. The Miami that I remember growing up watching would never troll like that. That's how I know you couldn't have been alive during the three-peat. Couldn't have been alive during the three-peat. No way. Not the Miami that came out in fatigues against Penn State. Not the badass Miami. No way. No way you were alive when Miami was actually good. No way. That's terrible. That's sad, man. That's sad. I feel bad for you because Miami did used to the Miami was good. Like, it was a lot to troll about it and be bragging about, but like now it's nothing, man. One championship in 30-some years, man.
Yeah, and it's crazy how they fall back on that, like they're saying something. It's like,
what did 13-0
5 rings, yo?
What did 13-0 net you? No, it's not the same.
There's the one guy, he says, like every single year, he says, all that hype and the 13-0 just to go 8-4 the next year, and he's been saying that for the past 3 years. Like, good luck. Maybe we'll go 8-4 this year, buddy, but I don't fucking think so. Right.
The law averages say eventually you'll be right. Like if you keep saying it, we'll be back. Eventually you'll be right.
Facts.
Like, you can't imagine this. Like, you called it you probably wasn't even alive then. All Canes Conference was what it was called, that you can't even win. And what's crazy is they're rooting for us to leave the ACC because they think that will give them an opportunity to win it, but they still can't beat Louisville. You can't beat Georgia Tech.
There, we got the right schedule up there now. But yeah, they'll have 9 wins, and I'll try. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm not a hater, when they win 9 games, I'm going to get Virginia Tech to the Gator Bowl. I'm going to root for them to come to Jacksonville. Like, y'all come on to Jacksonville, we'll help you out. Like, we want you guys to at least have a bowl game that's suitable, that your people will be proud to come to. That your people actually, because every Miami fan thinks they're rich, that your people can afford to come to. Oh man,
I can get you good tickets, RQ, because I'm not a bad guy. I'll get you good tickets, and actually will get you on the sideline so you can actually get a chance to meet you. Remember, I said this. I'm dead to fuck serious. I'll hook you up, Bobby, because you're my guy. You're a member. I'm definitely gonna always hook Bobby up, but like, we'll get you there, dog. Like, one day we're gonna all see this. We're gonna all see I believe it's Thursday's our month. Like Black History Month. And I have a dream. I have a dream that one day the new Miami fans will get a chance to see them win a bowl game. I have a dream. A dream. Man, get out of here, man. Again, it's so bad that you just can't even sit here and just watch something. Like you like it's Kane Spaces going on right now.
Until 2 a.m. too, by the way. Like
there's Kane podcast that you can be watching. But you know it, but inside your soul, you sitting here watching this because you know good and damn well that all that shit they talking ain't gonna help nothing. It's sad because I got a kid that went there too, man. I feel bad for that kid, man. Like I'll be one of like Derek Platt is a good kid. It's just I told him at least he got to the state championship so he can at least feel what it's like.
And get a ring or something. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
One championship. But the good thing is with the portal, and I don't wish that on him. I hope, best case scenario, he can get his degree, become a PhD, and go to the NFL in 4 years at Miami. I hope that's possible. But there is a transfer portal, and if he needs to, head somewhere else, that is open for him. He's not kind of stuck. But right here, while I've got the schedule up, and we just got through making fun of Miami and looking at their shit schedule, while I've got you on here, we might as well talk about ours. Obviously, we start at Georgia Tech. Then you get Boston College, and then a bye week. That's kind of the thing, what I want to talk to you about, being a former player, how this sets up to be able to play 2 games, get a bye. Then you get 4 games. You get Memphis. You get a Cal. You get a SMU. Not to write any team off, but these are 3 teams that you would, pencil in as wins if you're doing a over or under a win-loss thing before a season. And then you get your Clemson, your big matchup with Clemson at home, by the way. And then bam, another bye. So basically you've had one big game and you're 6-0. Now Georgia Tech, that could be a slip up. You're not a finished product. So you could be 4-2, you could be 5-1. There's odds there, but good chance you're 5-1, 6-0 going into another open week. Then you get Duke. You get Miami, who Jen has talked about. We discussed there's a chance if they went on a run, they could be favored. I don't think so. But here they are. They're Miami. They're your rival. They're one of your biggest rivals. Then you get UNC. Then you get Notre Dame. That's kind of the biggest stretch. That's tough. But you still get your bye, before you play whoever, Southeastern State, somebody, and then you get Florida. But I guess just what's it like? I mean, could you even imagine 3 bye weeks? Like these dudes should be ripping and raring to go. And besides, basically the second half of October and the first beginning of November, that's the only real kind of run we have where we play Duke, Miami, North Carolina, and Notre Dame.
Well, it's the unknown. And again, I always tell people I don't really like to do schedule predictions until I've actually seen the team.
Right,
it's
absolutely.
a brand new team. It's a lot of upside to it, but it's still something that you have to you got to look at. So, looking at the schedule, I feel very strongly in the first 2 games. Georgia Tech and Boston College. The bye week comes at a great time, not because Memphis, I don't know what Memphis returns, but I do know this. Memphis is a 10-win team that's returning.
Yeah.
And they've got consistency at coaching and they've done pretty good. And what that bye week does is it gives you a chance to heal up a little bit. But better than that, it gives you a week of corrections from the first 2 games of having your new players come in and hold account. Now, the best thing about it is the next 2 games against 2 opponents that we know very little about, you get at home, which goes into SMU, which is a good. The last guy from Miami that truly did give our defense a test is the head coach at SMU, and he's a really good offensive coordinator. He's a good offensive mind. I don't necessarily think they play the greatest defense, but I'm not going to go past that SMU game because I don't know much about it. Clemson is Clemson and will continue to be Clemson to me until we consistently go out there and do what we need to do. Now, what needs to happen is we need Clemson to have another year like they had last year. Like we need to beat Clemson again because right now they may be putting up a monster going back to the recruiting ways in which they had in 2025, in the 2025 class. So I like that. I My bad. I'd be reading the comments and just the ACC.
No, I could tell they had you ignited, dude. That's why I just like whatever, man. Let them have it.
Clemson
Bobby hit us with it. Let me read this one real
was
quick.
good in the 90s. Like,
Bobby
you know,
says for $4.99, any Miami fan that gets mad at the trolling, 1, you're on an FSU channel. 2, until Miami wins, what the fuck do you expect? So I'm sorry.
The crazy part is that, you know, they'll tell you these things and they'll preach to you. Like one of the things is that you act like you're Miami and Bama. Like you're Bama or Georgia. No, we act like we whooped your ass. Like the last 3 years. Like that's what we acted like. Like we whooped your ass the last 3 years. Like that's what I like. If I'm used to whooping your ass, why the fuck would I not be? Why would that's so weird? You've gotten your ass whooped and you don't count. Why do you think somebody who's the apparently clearly better, why would you expect the person to? That's insanity. That lets me know you were in that class that didn't rotate all day. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You're a healthy, productive citizen in society right now. And you're giving this channel, you're giving my man George the views that he needs.
Appreciate you, boss.
Hours. So like you stay here and you watch it. I'm sure somebody always remember, Tupac cares if don't nobody else care. Always remember.
Right. That's right. Tupac cares, man.
But the thing about those things is that Clemson's then that bye week does come at a good time. It's just, but Miami is still a rivalry. It is in Doak South. We have had success there.
What was the score last time, Jen? You went to Doak South. What was it?
It was a lot. 45-3.
Ironically,
45-3.
Now, ironically, George, here's the wild part. Because I love it. Miami fans, we gotta ask what about Georgia. Which, do you know what makes me mad? Watching Brandon Fisk, watching Jaheim Bell, watching all these guys in these bowl games and these all-star games ball out. Which it is what it is. They did what was best. But I feel like we would have had a better chance if we had those guys. But we won 45-3, right? And we literally pulled all of our guys in the third quarter. We beat them 45-3, and it was their actual team.
That was a mercy killing.
It wasn't guys who left to go sit out that game because they had to get ready for the NFL. They literally came in there with the idea that they had the best available players to line up on that field, and they lost 45-3. There were no holdouts, there were no sit-outs, there was no nothing. Do you realize we could have beaten them worse than what Georgia beat us on our fourth string D tackles with their number one guys?
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. Like Mr. Nice Guy.
There was no head coach. There was no head coach who was not present. Every coach on their staff was there. Every coach on their staff was there, and they put up 3 points, and we pulled out, and we pulled out the guys. Matter of fact, I know if they went to the games, because apparently the only time you can do yachts and stuff in Miami is on Saturdays. They'll go to the Dolphin games. They just won't go to the Hurricane games. It was actually packed, and if they remember,
one team actually wins their games, the other one,
Yeah, fair. It was packed until the midway through the second quarter when everybody left. Were y'all part of that? RQ, were you one of those that were you one, or did you stay that whole game?
RQ don't go to no games. He don't go to those games. That's an E fan there. Come on.
If I would have went to the game, the 60-3 game, I would have left too.
Yeah, but see, we knew what was coming. We knew what happened. We knew this crew job that came. We knew who was showing up for that game.
They did put up 50 on us. Mike Norvell had COVID. He did not. We didn't have a coach. What I'm saying is, here we go.
Almost like it was a COVID year. Almost like he came in and couldn't even have physical content with his players.
They've got to go back 4 years.
Y'all literally beat us. You beat us. That was 4 years ago. Now, that next year, what happened? Which is wow. Wow. Like that next year we beat you, and y'all thank God for 4th and 14.
That's why they're pissed. They should have never fired Manny. 4th and 14 just totally fucked their whole program. It set it back 2 decades.
This is how I know you don't watch football. They didn't beat J-Trav. You beat Hopalong. Jay Trav is undefeated against y'all. The first game that Jay Trav played against you, you thanked him for beating Manny Diaz.
Facts.
So like that's the facts of the matter, like just what happened, because you got to watch these games. But the next, but to the point in more recent history, were you there? Would you lost? Because again, if I would have went to the 60-3 loss again in Orange, I would have left too. If I went to the Georgia game this year, 60-3, I would have left. I would have left in the middle, but I couldn't go down. Like, did you leave, or did you stay the whole 45-3 ass whip, or did you leave like the actual ass whipping that you took? Like, not somebody else, because in my area, we don't brag about somebody else whipping somebody else's ass and you can't whip them. Like, you couldn't whip us. Did you leave during the 45-3 ass whipping? It's interesting, man. Again, like, it's not about somebody else. I can't talk about 52 when y'all beat us 52-10. I can't brag about how somebody else beat Miami that year, because we didn't. We beat you. Like, we beat you. Like, I don't brag about whoopings that other people got. Like, that's not a man thing. Actually, that's not an adult thing. That's not and I don't want to say man, because that's sexist. That's not what anybody does. But my point in all of this is the Miami game, I believe, should be better.
Yeah,
Miami
I agree, man.
Should be better this year, and I don't know. I got to see some more things with them, but I still believe us winning. But if you had to ask me about the games, also, how many times did you beat Florida State? RQ 305. I will answer your question. Put it up there on the screen. I love when they put it, because I can't compare. Like,
RQ, we don't give that guy the time of day. Like, he's just, you've made his night. He's done. He's got his dick out and he's doing all kind of nasty stuff, man. That's all. He's just so happy that you're talking to him.
You know you got him. How many times did you win? I don't ever remember going up against you. You watched me on TV. I heard you went defeated. Like, you watched it on TV. Actually, no, wasn't that? What did I go on? Actually, yeah, you're right. How many times did you win? How many plays did you make? Who remembers you? I can't Google you, and that's not fair. That's the unfair part. It's like you have a whole bit. Actually, again, if you watch the games, it's a TV. I'm actually in the game. Like, I scored. Like, but did you? That's the problem when it comes down, when you got them and they don't got nothing to argue with, but you can't get personal with a player because you're not a player. And that's the sad part. It's like, damn, you really, like, it's like,
in any sense of the word. In any sense of the word. You already know that.
Like, oh, you suck, but what did you?
What do you suck, though? Oh, man, that shit's hilarious. Just so you guys know, here in about 35 minutes, if I'm doing my math right, Doug Rohan, Esquire, is also going to join the show. I don't know if I said that right, but attorney at law, Doug Rohan. He's been talking and searching and reading this amendment and stuff, so he's going to join the show, and we're going to talk more about that. Who knows? We may roast Canes the rest of the way. You guys, man, you guys are hilarious in your delusion, but I wanted to talk schedule. I really enjoyed your show, like I talked about with TJ, but I want to give Jen a question. Or a chance to whatever, if she has a question or somewhere she wants to go before we get into all that as well. But I'm wanting to talk about y'all's conversation and some of the kind of things y'all came up with, that how it affects the reason Florida State has to get out of here and the different numbers that go into the endowments and all that good stuff.
No, I'm good. I'm just been enjoying the Miami slander. I enjoy every minute of it.
Oh, Chief Titty Slapper.
It's all good. It's all good for. Like, like I said, I actually, the crazy part is I actually got recruited by Miami. I could have went to Miami.
Facts.
Nobody else can say that. That's why I can't argue with somebody who couldn't have done it. It's not fair. But the biggest thing though in all of this though, and when it comes down to the like North Carolina, now you see more people becoming more vocal because they're becoming more confident in what may happen, what may transpire. And North Carolina has this interesting thing where, like, how is the state of Florida, we all have, UF has their separate board of trustees, Florida State has their separate board of trustees, FAMU has theirs, blah, blah, blah. It seems like North Carolina basically has one group that controls all of the public schools, and they all make the decisions. So like they would have to change law in order for them to be able to break apart from that. Well, they do have people who do look out for the best interests of that university. And their chancellor, I believe it was, is the one who made the comments today saying that they've been looking at it and fiscally, there's no way that this can survive down this path, which is the second major one to actually put these words out here into the universe. And what happens is it comes after the fact that it looks like the North Carolina, the ACC might have messed themselves up. And if one person gets out, they've set precedent. And this is something that I asked before, like, can you sue for something before it actually happens? It's like, can I arrest you before you actually commit the crime? And it's kind of one of those things, but when you look at it, Florida State did not put to a vote until after the ACC basically antagonized it. So even in North Carolina court, it looks like they'll win that. And then if it comes to the state of Florida, there's even more things that are going to come out of that. And I think it's just it's a situation where if the people not, again, what me and Tony went through, if you take away sports, take sports out of the equation and just look at it as academics, it is literally not in the best interest for almost anybody to stay in the ACC. Unless your name is Duke, Cal, Pitt, Notre Dame, which they're technically not in it, but they're in it, or Georgia Tech. When we looked at the chart basically, it's crazy because the Big Ten is literally, I hate to use it this way because it's like when they talk about the picture perfect of communism and socialism, that's the ism I was looking for. How they say everything is evenly distributed from a grant and a funding metric. That's damn near what the Big Ten is. When you look at the ACC, it is those 5 schools that I mentioned, and then everybody else is like almost is under $500 million in funds raised. And then they took up money about who's all in the red, who's in the negative. It is most of the conferences in the negative. But when you look at the SEC and the Big Ten, they're not in the negative from an athletic spending standpoint because of what has happened with the TV contracts and all the other things. So, but from an academic standpoint, the shared research, the hiring of students, the hiring of professors, all of these different things, man, it is just an all around better product than what we're getting in the ACC. It actually, like, just using his charts, again, no emotions, no breaking down the charts. It's literally just the numbers. If you read the numbers suggest that being in the ACC isn't conducive for 70% of the conference. It only benefits most of the people in North Carolina and Cal, but Cal was good before they came over here.
And it was kind of the same way with the Big 12 and the Pac-12. And you see what's happened to them. It's like the writing is on the wall, and it goes back to how, the ACC was negotiating for some of the people in the conference. But, they were only doing it for Duke and Virginia. And these teams that have their, a Stanford coming in, perfect. Stanford is the perfect ACC team. Nothing going on the field. But, don't care too much about putting money towards football, but they've got $1 billion, endowment, and they do get research funds, et cetera, et cetera. So, I couldn't agree more with all that stuff. I thought that was really interesting, that whole entire episode. But the thing that really stuck out about it to me, the thing I really took out is Florida State did the work. They did the work to bring their educational stuff, their research, all that stuff. They brought it up. They brought it up to the ACC level, and now we're at a point where they're trying to climb towards their top. Meanwhile, what the whole point of being in the ACC was to be able to be financially secure and have somebody have your back and all these things and be able to compete at the highest level, not have to worry about going to Nebraska and LSU and Ohio State all in the same year, just so that you won't get kept left out of the championship game. And here we are all these years later, and it was all for nothing because we did get left out of the championship game no matter what we did. So I just thought that was another way to really point that out, and he did a great job of showing how much books count, and the Big Ten getting over there will just be not only be a giant boost and catch you up on the athletic side, but it'll be a giant boost that the ACC never offered you, that you had to go firing on your own. The Big Ten, just by being in there, to go back on that communist thing, it's like the idealist, if you talked about communism like it would work, this is it. Everybody in the Big Ten is doing great. They've all got money. That's the idea. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I just think it's a situation where it's not you, it's me, but it's them, and you're just trying to do whatever you gotta do whatever you gotta do to get out of it. But Florida State has positioned itself to where they're ready for whatever. So they have the fun. They just again, it's chess, not checkers. Or actually, I hate when people say that, but it's like you have to make moves to set up the big move. And that's why when people are like, why won't they just come out and say it? Why won't they just do this? Why won't they just do that? And you can't. Because you don't know. Like right now, there's some unprecedented moves that we had to get state law to change. Like to be able to go and get a loan for a certain amount of money. Like, so that, because again, what if you reach a settlement and the settlement is upon paid in full? Well, we may not have that in the coffers, but like what you do is you go and you make them, you get law to change, and now you can do this. You get these concessions, and now you can do that. You're setting things up so that you can make your final move when you know what it's time to do. It's not as easy as just saying, I want to do this and now I got to get out. Hell, divorces, and as me and Rohan talked about with Rohan Law, it's not divorce. It's not even that easy in divorce. And this is what this is. This is a divorce, but there is no such thing as an impenetrable contract.
Facts. They're made to be broken. There's no, and they they come out, and that's like they ever thought in a million years they could say, oh, well, it said in there that you're not allowed to challenge it. You can't. It's
which
like,
in of itself
what?
is a bad contract. If I can't challenge the validity of a contract, and then there's just there are things that were done in just bad faith. And again, the number one thing that Florida State gave them was a fiduciary responsibility, and that's what the ACC was given. And they literally show they show nepotism, they show negotiating behind closed doors, and then they also showed a version of, they just said like, hey, we just re-signed this contract, but you can't see it, and you can't have a hold of it, which is, I believe, is illegal in the state of Florida. Like if I have a contract with even in my my non-compete contracts that I used to have, which non-compete is not really, you can't even really enforce that in the state of Florida. But if I when I have non-competes or I have employee contracts that they signed to get paid or work for me, I had to give them a copy of it. I had to legally require not just a copy of it, a copy with all party signatures on it. So at worst, Florida State should have a contract with all the athletic directors or whoever, or the powers that be, who signed that contract. And that's about it.
Jen?
Yeah. Do I have anything to add? No, I think he's really
You're the
hitting
co-host,
everything.
baby. What you got?
He's hitting everything. I don't look, I think, you know how I feel about this. James is really into it, and I don't really want to mess
It's
up
not
his
for
fun.
me. It's for the fans.
Yeah, but they've heard my voice. I want to hear more of James.
Oh, for sure. I'm not like, just talk, James.
I just want me to just talk. I don't know.
we're just fucking around. We're having one of our moments. But
again, just it's a situation where I do think it's sad that that the ACC went from being one of the more the conferences that was being more innovative to a conference that literally is about to unalive itself. Now, one
Yeah.
thing that we did not get a chance to talk about, because we talked about so many interesting things, and if people want to know what the hell I'm talking about, I had Tony Outmore. I always forget his last name, but you know, you need to follow him. He's a charts guy. Tony came on, and we had a behind the scenes discussion before we went on there, just about things that we wanted to get into. And he did speak for, like, what if I were the ACC, this is what I would be trying to do. I know I've got 3 teams, and this is, again, something that's going to mess them up in negotiation. You know, you have to have a certain percentage of the schools to be able to get out of the GOR. So what they did, and they were, and we
just
had
add 3 more teams real quick.
So we added 3 more teams that were going to be more to their strength, so we can't get out of the GOR. But if you're able to keep 5 teams, you'll be able to salvage this. And he said his opinion was he thought it would still be better than the Big 12. And so who are the 5 teams that you would try to keep? And you want to try to keep the ones that are the more academic savvy. And it probably takes some of the learn from some of the else that you just took in this. But if you're able to keep Cal, SMU, Stanford, so Stanford and Cal are your 2 bigger academic institutions. Somehow keep North Carolina or the Carolina schools in general, but you want to make sure North Carolina is your bread and butter. Pitt, Notre Dame, and I'll say Miami. That's 7 schools that are big enough that can help you ride the wave. And if you are able to get some buyouts, you strengthen your relationships with them. And you go and you get you go and try to negotiate another contract, another TV deal. The problem comes in is that the ACC has relegated itself to the lowest tier of concubine. Actually, not the lowest tier. They're not a wife of the ACC. I mean, of ESPN or ABC. They're a concubine. And even if you have multiple brides, there's a difference between being a wife and a concubine. The wife at least gets a ring and a house and gets taken care of. The concubine just gets fucked. And that's right now what the ACC is in. And if you don't believe me and you don't like that analogy, just look at the contract. The contract basically states that whenever ESPN is ready to pick up, they can pick us up, whatever option they want in 2026. And if they choose to pick us up, then they can choose to give us a 4.5% increase year to year based upon what that is. Like, at least in a husband and wife relationship or a mutually beneficial relationship, there's like, I come to you, sometimes I give it to you when I'm tired and I have a headache, and vice versa. Or sometimes we actually come together to make great magic. Concubine, you just get fucked. I come in the door, you do it, you take what I want, and I leave. And that's basically what ESPN has done to us. But they have 7 to 8 squads that are at least somewhat reputable. They will get the opportunity to be able to get that conference champion into the playoff game. So, and I think that would maybe benefit certain teams if that happens. But I still believe like Louisville and some other schools would stay because it's still better for them. The other thing that we did too is we looked at where we would compare in the Big Ten from all of our numbers and where we would. He actually put up a tweet where Florida State will fall in if they went to the Big Ten, and we're outside of some of the academic shit where we'll be the bottom, like the academic fundraising money from academic school, we'll be mid-tier to the upper tier. From as far as a football perspective, from over the course of a long period of time, we'll be one of the top 4 teams.
Facts. This Florida State brand, man, I keep trying to tell people, it's going one direction and one direction only, through the stratosphere. And yeah, like guys, I've been talking about it all show. If you haven't seen that episode with Tony Altimore at TJ Altimore on X, go check that thing out. Because like you talked about, they had all kind of different charts. Like I said, went into the endowments, all the different things. Obviously, James has talked about, but really broke down where Florida State would fit in each conference, you know, in every kind of way you want to look at it. Athletic money, research money, endowments, yada, yada, the whole 9 yards. So that really was an awesome thing. Before we get completely into the ACC suit and everything here in about 15-20 minutes, We were talking earlier about, Mike Norvell jet setting around the country, recruiting. We talked to you last week about the previous junior day. You have another big junior day. Mike Norvell's like in Texas. He's over here. I think he stopped by the Senior Bowl today, maybe, and took a picture, talked to some guys. Like, man, what kind of difference has all this made with the jets and the helicopters and everything else?
Like,
go ahead.
Don't make a big, like, every weekend basically is going to be a junior day. So, like, if we don't have like 100 kids, like, and their junior days around the nation, like, Miami's going to have one every weekend. Florida's going to have one. These guys are all being recruited by multiple schools. They're going to all be at these places, man. Like, it's just vibe. What will always be the most important thing is winning games. And I think that's what we'll do. And it'll be great. So, I mean, I think that's what people have to pump their brakes and recognize. But we'll still have a bunch of guys that are going to be coming in, and it's going to be a long process. One of the things I didn't talk about, though, George, that will be a big hiccup, and I got to figure out, I'm going to ask the question, because I know he'll be able to be here all camp, right? But he has to leave for the first 3 weeks. And I wonder if we still get, we lose
Atkins,
a coach, or if we only lose Atkins. Because if we lose a coach, that really puts you in a predicament. But if we lose just Atkins, that means we can activate somebody else to be one of the on-field 10. And, there's ways to get around those things. But what it does, though, is it lets us see how good of a coach is Mike Norvell. And what I mean by that is you have 3 games without an OC over the span of 4 weeks. Now that gives us a chance to see what is Tony Tokar's role turned into. Does Tony Tokar take a more strong role? Is Mike Norvell going to be is he going to have to step up in the offensive role? And the wild part about that is, what if there's a pressure situation on them? Which we hope not to have that, but a head coach's job is to dictate time of the pace of play. Like, if you look at what Florida fans are angry with Billy about, they're angry about how he doesn't use his timeouts properly. They're angry about how he gets caught up watching the game and these different things. And the head coach is supposed to watch the flow of the game. Who calls the plays? Do we give the play calling responsibility to somebody else? Or does Mike just say, hey, I'm going to take these reins and maybe let Fuller be Fuller, you're in complete control of your defense. And that'll be wild.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to have more responsibility spread around. We sure hope they're able to promote somebody, because I don't know if people realize it. We've talked about it on here before. Chris Thompson, our tight ends coach, coached offensive line for 20 years, like straight before he came to Florida State. 17, like on paper, like in his, description. Offensive line at Central Arkansas, Abilene Christian, Texas Tech, Arizona State, TCU. And then he got here and became, the whatever associate head coach / tight ends coach. So, yeah, it'll be really great to see how everybody slides around and who's that guy that they bump up. If you can bump up somebody, that'll tell you a lot about who they think about their analyst, who that top analyst is. Obviously, you got a guy like Rick Stockstill coming in to be an analyst on the staff. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works out. But I'm pretty hopeful. I feel like they should be able to work it out just because Norvell has called the plays, but how that all gets divvied out. I mean, it definitely affects you. Like, there's a reason that getting that 10th assistant however many years ago when we got it, kind of brought things to the next level. And there's a reason these people have such giant shadow staffs and stuff like that. When you've got a superstar like Alex Atkins, I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt not to have him, no matter how much that capacity. I mean, even just going to talking to the guys who like, what's the word I'm looking for? Who can compare to these kids? Who knows what it's like to be in their shoes better than Alex Atkins on a game day, on that game line of game day, if there's a dude that's losing his head or maybe is having an issue with penalties or has the yips or whatever.
And we also lost our longtime assistant coach. That was the assistant offensive line coach, who was really, really good at that. So it's just, there's guys that will be there. It's not just about the play calling. It's about the little things like, being able to adjust on the fly. Guy gets beat. You want to know what happened. Hey, how can I adjust this guy's technique a little bit? Those are things that you'll also miss. And I know a lot of people love to say that their thoughts are, does Mike call out a place?
Right. I'm going to go let this dog out because apparently she's losing her mind.
Well, introduce us, because before we go, I kept meaning to do it and I keep talking. Me and James, I'm just like, I love to talk, so we can't stop. But who is it we're meeting?
This is Ruby.
Ruby. What's up, Ruby?
She's my angel. She's my sidekick. She's my ride or die. She is my work from home partner. She goes with me everywhere. She's amazing, but she does need to go potty.
We're going to have to get her to meet Lucy one day.
Yeah, she's not enjoying not being able to go out. I probably should have done that before I got on here, so I apologize. That's my fault. But she didn't go. She didn't want to go because it was raining. She's a princess. It is what it is. She doesn't want to get them feet wet. I'll be right back.
Alrighty, we'll see you in a bit. Brad Audinger, yes. In Norvell, we trust all day and tomorrow. And just to let you guys know, memberships are available. If you guys want to become members, we're going to do members only live streams every now and then. We just did one with Freddie Stevenson, an awesome conversation. And we just had about 100 guys in here. We've got about 120 members, so everybody was in there. We had a great time. And we've released the first half of that. We'll probably release the second half around Wednesday or Thursday. But we're also doing all kind of giveaways. A lot of times the members get the better parts of those giveaways. We just hit 2,000 subscribers. So we're going to give $200 away. It's not going to be tonight. I'm going to say next week. We're going to see what happens. There's all kind of things in the works behind the scenes. We'll see what happens between here and then. Who knows, if we hit 2,500 or something like that, maybe we'll do another giveaway, but we're going to at least give away $200 next Tuesday. So make sure you're subscribed up, membered up. We've got Doug Rohan coming on here in just a matter of minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, something like that. It's Den Media Group for James. Make sure you're subscribed, membered up for Den Media Group, all that good stuff. But again, we appreciate you all. We're not doing calls right now, like I said, because we've got Doug coming on maybe for the last 30 minutes of the show. We'll see. But anyways, back to Florida State football. What do you think about Rick Stockstill getting added? Do you think that was a pretty good addition for that running game and could affect this, exactly what we're talking about? Because he is an offensive, like a running game guy, correct? So that'll be, a big part of what we lose in Alex Atkins is Ackerman with that. I don't know who the running game coordinator. I know places have that in some places. I'm guessing that's Alex Atkins' responsibility.
Oh, my bad. I got a killer right here. All right. Bobby,
my bad, man. I couldn't see.
Nah, you good. I see Bobby put your greens only.
Greenies only.
Rick's a passing game. He's a former quarterback at Florida State in 77-81. And he's a guy that could definitely help transition. I think one of the things that made Bama so great was the ability to get so many former head coaches to come on as analysts. So what you got a chance to do is have somebody kind of audit you and how you play the game and what your thought processes are. How would you beat me? And also just a better idea of how to enhance certain aspects of your passing game. Again, much smaller scale. I never want to compare what we do to what they do on that level, but it's to give some insight. So at Mandarin, the school I coach at, Toby is the offensive coordinator. He's also the head coach. Very good offensive mind. I know how to script up and do run game, but it's Toby's offense. So when I'm going in, hey, if I see something that I think should be done better, I will tell Toby, here's how I would do it. Here's how I want my running backs to step. Here is the path that I think that they should.
Oh, I think you got muted. I think you got muted, buddy, unless it was on purpose. But yeah, I agree 100%.
I muted on purpose.
Okay, my bad. I'm not. I'm missing all the cues that I'm supposed to be
I
catching.
hadn't talked about kids. The kids is wilding right now. But Tuesday night.
Trey and Killa, we love you, man. Just calm down. Don't give your dad a hard time, man. We'll have you on the show. If you want to come on and do a segment, we got time. So if we got to get him some screen time to settle him down, we're down with it. So whatever it takes, man.
but basically, that's where Rick comes in. That's where having different coaches come in and like to be able to give guys some insight. Hey, like just for example, maybe the play that Rick Stockstill, how he was able to keep beating Miami's DBs deep. Maybe what was it that you saw in that defense that they ran that made you believe that you could continue to do this? How would you be? What are your cover three? What are your cover two beaters? What are your man beaters? What do you do in these situations? I mean, that's like anybody, regardless of what the record is, anybody who's able to be a head coach that long, you can be able to do that.
Without further ado, our guy attorney Doug Rohan is ready to join, and we will get this conversation going, kind of centered back on Florida State's amended filing that they've done in response to the ACC's amended filing. And I can kind of see if I can get it pulled up maybe so that we can actually look at it and go through some of the more important points. What's going on, Doug? Thanks for joining us. Got James Coleman, big game James Coleman with us. And Jen, of course, she had to take the dog for a walk or something, so she'll be just back. Happy hour. That's
Ruby
when we have
Princess.
Doug on.
Yeah, man. Late nights with Rohan Law. Yeah, I heard Ruby had to go use the restroom, so happy to come in and join and fill in till Beauty and the Beast got back.
Absolutely. We've been talking about all kinds of fun stuff, so glad to get you in here to maybe break down some of the different points and the jargon and the stuff. It was a 60-page filing, so we're not going to obviously read through the whole thing, but I'm sure James and Jen probably got some questions for you. But I guess overall, I know you've been on some different shows. You've been looking at this all day. We've been in a group chat looking at different stuff. I guess if you want to give whatever your first couple minutes, your thoughts off the gate, the floor is yours.
Man, well, thank you very much for having me on. This is one of my fun shows that I really enjoy doing. You guys have great energy and great attitudes. And so I just love being part of the process. But yeah, this is, I woke up this morning. I had a full day already, a bunch of text messages blowing up my phone first thing this morning. So I was going to put some stuff off and not really dive into this. But once I started looking at the complaint, the amended complaint, and what FSU was thrown out there, I was like, oh my gosh, they're bringing the big guns out. This is crazy. They're naming names and throwing people under the bus. And so I just got real excited about what was going on. So it was just fun to read through that today, share some of my thoughts with you all on our chat, and happy to go through kind of some of the bigger picture items and even talk about some of the smaller details. We did a quick overview this morning with TJ, but we really didn't get a chance to get into a lot of the details. And there really is some pretty important stuff in here with Florida State really drilling down on exactly the things that we talked about the first time we got together, and all the things that were alleged with the breach of fiduciary duty, with the Swofford nepotism really being the foundation for their bargaining and their negotiations, and that really the ACC just crapped the bed when it came to trying to work in FSU and all of their members' best interests. They punted. They didn't do that. And so now here we are, reaping the field of trash that they've sowed, and it's all really all on their heads that this is coming to a head.
No doubt. One of the particular things I saw in there was basically, you talked about it already with Swofford and all that stuff, but they basically pointed out like, hey, Florida State doesn't owe anything to ESPN. We're not part of no agreement. We're not, anything. So what are your thoughts on that little part in there? And do you think I know that's a big deal, because like a big part of this whole thing is that $400 million or whatever it is from 27 to 2036. How big is that part they put in there about ESPN and not being beholden to any of their interests or whatever? Like, what does that mean? I know that they made an ultimatum and said ESPN this or that, but Is that pretty much saying that we're off the hook for 27 to 2036? Like that shit has nothing to do with us, basically?
Oh yeah, it's really two different things. Let me address your first point about the confidentiality and stuff. I mean, we laughed out loud on this show the last time when the ACC amended their complaint to talk about all this terrible stuff that FSU did about hurting the reputation of the ACC and breaching confidentiality. There's nothing in any of the contracts or bylaws that says anything about confidentiality. Now, it may be that every time they met in North Carolina to look over the grant of rights, they said, now remember, this is all hush hush. But again, that wasn't in the written agreements. That's not in the bylaws. So the ACC tried to allege that Florida State breached its fiduciary duties. And we just laughed out loud because there is no fiduciary duty. The ACC exists, and that was one of my favorite quotes, to operate a conference on behalf of and at the behest of its members and nothing more. There's nothing that Florida State owes to the ACC other than to do a good job, to put a good product on the field, to increase the reputation of the ACC. But it's the ACC that's done its own damage, and this gets to the point about who filed first. They're trying to talk about FSU airing all ACC's dirty laundry. Mofos, you guys went to the courthouse first. You tried to be first and put all this stuff in the court filing. So no, we're not talking bad about you. We're just talking about what y'all just undid.
It's essentially a situation where they tried to say a crime happened before it happened. You can't get arrested for something you never did, right?
So that was the big thing that I really wanted to drill into. And admittedly, I'd said earlier that I wasn't really sure how this was going to play out about who filed first and whether or not that was significant. But, I like to learn new things and I like to look at stuff. So I did some research and I looked at some of the other articles and filings related to this. And this brings up the term that I wanted to share with you and your listeners, and that's comity, COMITY. Comity is the idea that if two people file lawsuits in two different courts, they're roughly the same, they talk about the same issues, then yes, there is a situation where the first filed lawsuit does get deference from the second court. The second court says, well, look, we're not going to waste our time litigating all these same issues. So since you filed first, we're going to let the first court handle this matter. The problem with comity is that it requires the second court to recognize the interest of the party that filed first. And one of the exceptions to this idea of comity is when somebody files first only and strictly for purpose of gaining a tactical advantage. And that's exactly what the ACC did. We heard about this big scary Board of Trustees emergency meeting. We think they're going to file suit or they're going to authorize Florida State to file suit. So let's rush out to the court and go ahead and file in advance before any of this stuff actually happened. So you partner that with this idea that has also come up about, look, this is significant litigation. This is a major lawsuit that ACC is operating without the input of its members. It's just gone ahead and filed. Between those two things being the reason why they filed first, Florida and their court absolutely in Leon County has the right to say, no. You are just trying to gain a tactical advantage. That lawsuit was premature. We're going to go ahead and listen to this case in Leon County.
I love it. And I finally got this thing pulled up, and I know you probably went through this thing, and we can kind of scroll through. I'm not going to read the whole thing or whatever, but just to kind of give people an idea, I'm going to scroll through this thing through the rest of the podcast so that if you ever wanted to come back and look at it, it'll be here while we talk about it. But this is the introduction to what they wrote. The stunning exclusion of the ACC's undefeated 2024 college football playoff in deference to two one-loss teams from two competing Power Four conferences crystallized the years of failures by the ACC to fulfill its most fundamental commitments to Florida State and its members. Those fundamental commitments, explicitly made and acknowledged in writing by the ACC, includes the ACC's duty to generate substantial revenues for its members, a constitutional purpose to foster quality competitive opportunities for student athletes and championships underlined there, a mission to maximize athletic opportunities for student athletes and a vision to be at the forefront in athletic achievement. The ACC has fumbled all four. And as you'll see, they've got a bunch of different things, reasons and everything like that. I'm not sure if there's one specific part of it you wanted to go next, or Jen, if you had a question?
No, I'm good.
Well, let me just jump in and say this part here. You know, this is an amended complaint. So what they've done is they've taken their original complaint. Their original complaint was without the benefit of the ACC filing because they had to prepare that in order to file it. The ACC files their complaint the afternoon or night before Florida State authorizes and prepares theirs. So then the ACC files its first amended complaint, which was related to and digested some of the information from Florida State's complaint. Now the reverse is happening. Now Florida State is amending its complaint, digesting and including some of the information that the ACC complaint and amended complaint have included. So let's go back and first off remind everybody and remind our viewers, so far in 2 filings, the ACC has not called Florida State a liar. Now, they have a chance to file an answer. That's going to be filed February 16th. That's where you answer the allegations against you. But the ACC's already had one chance in the court of public opinion to put out there all the reasons why Florida State is wrong, and they've failed to do that. So now here we have our Florida State amended filing. Those first 4 sections are very similar to what was originally filed in the first complaint. Where it starts to get different is if you skip down to paragraph 14, that's where some of the additional details start to come in, where they flesh out the Swofford relationship and the Swofford contract. Remember, they didn't name Swofford the first time, but now the gloves are off and now they're coming hot and heavy, laying it all out there on the line.
And that part he's talking about, paragraph 14, this was not always the case, in talking about, you know, where we ended up there without reading all of it all. But North Carolina's largest newspaper, the News and Observer, chronicled the decline of the ACC in the 21st century, largely based on its failure to successfully exploit its members' media rights. In 2002, the ACC and the Big Ten were more or less financial equals, separated by about $6.5 million in favor of the Big Ten. About a decade later, the once small and relatively insignificant monetary gap between the conferences had grown almost $100 million wide. How the ACC went from one of the most successful college sports in history to uncertain future by July 10 of 2022. And that's kind of their issue with, you know, the ACC and its problems. And like he said, you start to get into that Swofford stuff. And we talked about it vaguely last time, but how big is this stuff that they've came out now and they've kind of like named? They named Chad Swofford. They like, it was out in the open for us, but we wondered when it was going to come out, if they would wait for this, wait for that. But no, like it's obvious the way he went from the mailroom to director in 08 to 2012 to director of this. Oh, ACC Network, I promise you, bam, the next level. Oh, we finally delivered it 4 or 5 years late. VP of the entire damn thing. And I promise I'll shut up and let James and Jen get the rest of the questions. But yeah, just tell me where you want it to go to, and we'll go to that part of the document. And besides that, I'll just kind of keep it scrolling for the people at home to be able to read it.
Well, what I wanted to mention about this part, just real quick, Jen, was this is now setting up the timeline. 2012. This is where we start seeing the massive disparity in revenue. Not now, not today in 2022, 2023, when we're bitching about this contract. This started back in 2012, which is important because 2013 was when they instituted the grant of rights and made the Florida State president sign over all of the grant of rights. So this was already a problem. It started in 2002. By 2012, we had a $100 million gap between the conferences. And now it's been everything in the 10 years since then that has just made this exponentially damaging to Florida State. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I was just going to say, it seemed like this one by Florida State was basically they woke up and chose violence. I think that's the way I've described it today.
I love it.
It was wild. I mean, it's not wild because they actually have cogent arguments to what they're saying. And it's not just a bunch of BS put together, which is almost what it seems like the ACC amendments have been. The 2 that they've thrown down have been meh, I guess, in a way, if I could say it that way. I mean, I could be looking through it like through garnet and gold glasses. I totally get that. But I do like legal things. I watch trials for fun. It's always enjoying it. It's not just murder trials. I like to watch a lot of them. You know, I'm weird like that.
No, for women, it's a matter of self-preservation. You have to know where the dangers are.
Exactly.
Facts.
You know, like those Dateline, if anybody asks me on a Friday night or Saturday night, they're like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, well, those Dateline episodes are going to watch themselves, you know? So I just, again, for me, I felt like they really went after it in this amendment. I almost feel like this was them saying, this is what we've got. Are you guys going to come to the table and do a good settlement, or are we going to go further? Because it felt like to me they were saying, try me.
Look,
In that amendment.
I'm not in the room. I'm not in the room. I
Yeah.
don't have any inside information. I can just tell you what is culturally and sociologically significant about what is happening. What happens in the legal arena when something like this is going on? And I think you put it out there exactly right. What's happened is they've already started talking. Initial
Yeah.
conversations have already taken place, no question. And I think the ACC is probably thinking, yeah, no, this is the grant of rights. We've already talked about how strong this is. And Florida State put out their opening salvo in their complaint, and they went up to a certain point saying, this is what we got, this is what's here, this is what we're going to be discussing. And then the ACC probably was not very receptive to compromise. I would suspect they were like, we'll take $100 million off the price tag. We'll do it for $400 million instead of $500 million. And Florida State was like, well, let's give you a wake-up call. Let's talk about what this is going to be like, because that's going to be a very uncomfortable deposition when John Swofford is sitting there across from the FSU attorneys explaining how he was quoted in the Charlotte Observer saying things like, the only thing that really matters to us is that Raycom survives.
Yep, just make a deal. There's $82 million, though, before we move on from this section. Basically, what I've already scrolled past, there was a lawsuit between Maryland and the ACC pretty much decided that the Constitution is what governs and decides how things operate within the ACC. So they listed that precedence, and what they're pretty much coming out here saying from 20 to 21 and 22, and I'll read 22, the ACC has failed to exploit those media rights in comparison to its peer conferences, talking about the tier 2 and the tier 3 rights. It's like, I mean, how huge is that there's, I believe, and James can take this over for me if he wants. Wasn't it like $82 million that y'all talked about a difference in gap between what other schools got from their tier 2 rights versus us?
Say that again.
As far as the tier 2 rights, $82 million that Florida State has given up, year in, year out, that the ACC supposedly, when we gave up those tier 2 rights, was supposed to, get product back, get value back from that. But we've never seen anything. Like, it's just, it's all tied up in the same one. And $82 million a year, that's what we want out of the Big Ten. That's a giant nut that never even gets spoken about.
So while we never really were able to make those kind of numbers before, but everybody remembers Sunshine Sports. You remember all these other different things that we used to sell our secondary rights to. You had, it was basically the TV show was able to, the replay of the games was able to also give you the replay of the radio broadcast, because that was literally the radio broadcast that you would hear right after that. So
I missed that.
I joke with people all the time when I do negotiations with my contracts now. With my show, I say, I am giving you the first rights. I'm selling you that, but I own my show, which means I own all of the reels, all of the other things that come out of it. Same thing with you. So but if somebody comes and says, I want to give you a better example would be somebody wants to come and give you a deal for Renegade Report, and they want to put it on a broadcast network or a platform. You have to put your this show would have to be on that platform. All re-airs of this show could come on this. Now, you can stream it from StreamYard or stream it from YouTube to a network to where you own the YouTube spins, but it better show on that platform. So that's ABC, NBC with the football games. But we were doing that with other things. Now we gave all of that up to go to the ACC network, which was Jefferson Pilot Sports, which was a bunch of other different things before, and they never did anything with it. There's very little money that comes back for us being in that. And again, that goes back to the fiduciary responsibilities, and that goes back to what they're really going to put. That I think if people got the problem with America right now is we all talk the troll. Even at the beginning of the show, we're having, it's fun having dialogue, but sometimes there's a point where we have to understand that court is not Twitter. It is not Facebook. It is not, it is, that shit is not fun. As a guy, actually, I think when Doug came on the show, I think I was literally fresh off of settling something, and I wasn't very happy about settling, but it's not fun. Depositions are boring. They're long. They're this, and ugly things get out. In fact, like, it was the discovery that I found out in some of the things in my own made me so angry that I wanted to go punch somebody. But it's not just that. It's what do we find out about? Do we find out nepotism? Which we probably will, because we kind of know.
It's on the screen right now. This is what I missed.
Do we talk about, you know, other things that come out? And again, with us being, and as Danielle came on and did another good show, who is more familiar with Sunshine State laws, like, I mean,
yep, she did great.
Look at you might not be able to get the full deposition, but all you need is I need as Mike offered, to send bullet points to our president through his FSU.edu email. It's not the deposition, but that's a summary of what happened, and now everybody can know what happened. And trust and believe. They will figure out ways for all of us to know what happened. They'll probably give a blueprint to some of our media on, hey, here's how you file Sunshine State laws so we can properly give you the documents that you want. And that's
today might be a good day.
And I think somebody put up, would Swofford be able to, you know, he would have to, he can file, maybe you can't file, it's not defamation or libel if it's true.
Yeah.
If you can prove it. But he would have to set up a whole bunch of other different things, and it wouldn't be enough time to protect him from having to go through that depo or trial. Bottom line is, the more things come out, the more they set up stuff, the less likely this is going to see any courtroom or mediation or any of that stuff, because it's just too. It's not a billable hours are one thing, and it's cool to get. But at the end of the day, you do want to win cases. Like, you don't want to be the guy to like, now if you took this case and you really felt like, oh man, I know I'm going to win this. This is going to look good. I beat Florida State. Cool. But I can promise you, at a certain point, most lawyers are going to be like, hey man, I'm with it. I made my money. My billable hours are cool. My family's great. We got a yacht this year. I need you to go ahead and this isn't going to be in your best interest. And that's what a good lawyer would say.
Yeah, definitely not this situation. Like, this definitely got the way to go, man. I love it. And, as you talk about it and finding that nepotism and stuff, this is one I missed. I said we've had this conversation, so I'm glad this filing came out, because, when I've talked to James, when I've talked to Jim, when I've talked to Doug, I totally missed this one. I knew 2007, Swofford ends up at Raycom and his meteoric rise from the mailroom to the vice president. I had no idea, and I'm going to read paragraph number 31 in the amended complaint. In 2005, the ACC extended a single invitation for a school to join the ACC as a new member. The invitation was extended to Boston College University, aka Boston College. At the time, Swofford's son, Chad Swofford, was working in the Boston College athletic department. If that doesn't set up a pattern, like if it was just all in Raycom, and you can tell me if there's legal precedent here. If it was all in Raycom, you could say, okay, this is just a natural career path. It just so happened something good happened at Raycom and he got a promotion. No, this sucker was at Boston College and got them in the ACC, and that's how he got on at Raycom to be like. That's, to me, that really shows, like, okay, you're at Boston College, the ACC adds them, then you go to Raycom. The year that they're falling apart, all of a sudden you're added. Like, they were already falling apart when he got there. The SEC has already begun to drop them. Like, holy shit, somebody shut me up. What, like, Rohan, what can we do here?
There are no coincidences. There
holy
really
shit.
no coincidences.
I had no idea about Boston College till just now.
That was jaw-dropping for me, too. That's why I included that in the notes. It's unbelievable.
Is Chad Swofford really Hunter Biden? Can somebody answer that question? Is this separated at birth? Because I'm dying over here with this. Like, his career path is wild.
Wow, man. I mean,
I mean,
but yeah,
I'm
all for
gonna get in
nepotism.
trouble for that one. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
Yeah.
I know it.
I'm all for nepotism. If I set it up right, my sons will be doing very, very good. I played through nepotism. I love the old man to death. I'm very sad to this day that he's no longer with us. I think Jeff Bowden is a great person. He was a bad offensive coordinator. I should have never had to live through that. But I understand why he did that. But his wasn't even the incompetence of what this is. Like, you got to at least put the kid in a situation to where they fail forward. Like, and it got to look like, at least Bobby had Jeff be a wide receiver coach before he became an OC. Like, you can't work in the mailroom and then become an exec. Like, it just doesn't typically work like that.
look at this paragraph right here. And
That's
like I said, I can't read it all, but basically the SEC is falling apart. And right before they added Chad, they had just cut. They cut 20 people. They just did massive layoffs. Then you hire Chad. Then all of a sudden the ACC saves your ass.
It's better than that. Chad started. They laid off 20 employees. Chad was one of the ones that didn't get fired.
Oh, so they hired him before that. Did they hire him to lay the freaking guys off? Like, Jesus. I mean, I know we got Chainsaw Al. That's like one of our big sponsors and stuff coming and do these corporate takeovers. But it almost seems like this whole thing was just one big, just fuck FSU. How can we possibly just get this chat? I didn't even know it went this deep. I felt bad for putting his head on a fucking spider, but I don't anymore. Okay. Come at me for whatever. Yes, that's Chad Swofford's head on that fucking spider on the thumbnail.
When it comes to litigation, the hardest thing to prove is what did the other side know? What did the ACC know? And you want to say, okay, yeah, conspiracy theories, they manipulated things. Well, in order to get to that point in the conspiracy theory, you have to say, well, they acted in a manner that was based on their knowledge. Well, here you have an example, paragraph 33, you were hovering over it earlier. Raycom just got cut out of the SEC by ESPN. So in 2008, whack, Raycom's out of the SEC. Here comes the ACC with their contract negotiation with ESPN. So what do? They make sure the same thing doesn't happen. It was very likely to happen, but for the actions of the ACC and their negotiations, they put off what has already happened once before. So this
at the expense of who?
Knowledge, and it's at the expense of all of its members, including Florida State.
It's unreal. I can't believe they hired him, then laid all the people off. It was like basically saying, all right, this one guy is going to get us the contract we need. You guys are all worthless. Y'all can't do shit. Doing things on merit and stuff is like, wow. And just the fact that we had that piece to point to where, they came out and said it, and we'll bring John Skipper into this because I don't know. Did you see that? You saw it. You saw the article. But the part of the article that stuck out to me, basically, you kind of hinted at it, but, John Skipper, he's ESPN. He's the one that just stole these rights from Raycom. He knows he put them out of business. So when he's having that conversation and John Swofford looks at him and he's like, look, we want to do a deal with Raycom. So whatever it takes for that to happen, make that happen. Like, if you put him on the stand and be like, asked him point blank on the stand, do you think it was in the best interest of the ACC to go with Raycom instead of ACC or ESPN? Because like ESPN was a CBS entity. It was like already with a company that and ESPN produces its games. They signed on for that. Like, obviously, and ESPN at that point in time was like God in sports. They were like, there was no other Fox Sports 1 or anything like that in 2008. Like, to be able to get ESPN to produce FSU football games, like it's unreal how it can't be undersold. Like, so to find this out it's really hurting me in the heart.
Hey,
George, you're so naive.
I got a quick question. How often do you find typos in deposition?
In depositions or complaints?
My bad, complaints. My bad. Things that are filed.
I found one in this one.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. You know, you're
I was
racing
just
to fill
asking
out
because a
59
lot of people are
pages.
just like, oh my God, they put like Boston College University or Boston College isn't on trial. So it's not like they're not the ones who are being sued. So it happens. I had my whole company was wrong listed on the suit who was suing me. That wasn't even the name of my company. I didn't even know. I had to tell them when I got the I don't know what you're suing. Like, I don't own that company. That's not my name. So I'm just saying, like, so guys, just trust me. People make mistakes. It happens on every level.
Boston
Hell,
College
we
should
talked
feel
about it, right,
lucky.
Doug? The biggest mistake was the attorney who wrote the damn contract for the ACC put in there the jurisdiction.
They left out the issue of choice of law, the choice of law provision. Yep. So in most contracts, for those catch up that didn't see Biggie's show, James's show, it was a great show, fantastic questions. But every contract that involves multiple states and multiple jurisdictions, you always want to include a clause in that contract saying, look, if there's litigation, the laws of this state are going to apply. So we don't have a fight over venue and jurisdiction. And here we have the ACC contract, a major contract from a major program or a major conference. And they're dealing with 13 members in 7 states, 8 states, and they didn't put in a choice of law provision. That's just, that's negligence. Attorneys make mistakes too.
Well, and I think that Boston College should feel lucky they were even, included in some sort of filings by their owner.
Yeah, I totally
and
missed
Daddy, Florida State. They should really be like, thank you, Daddy. Can I have any more? You were actually included. That should make you feel welcome. It should make you feel like you're not the losers that you are. So, if it was misspelled or grammar was wrong, at least you were invited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just want to read this one time so I get it right. When they were sitting there on the bricks, whatever, at North Carolina, good old buddies, John Skippard and Swofford, he said, Swofford said to Skipper, it would be our preference if ESPN could construct something that would help keep us in business with Raycom. So it's not a simple, even just like, help us if any way possible. Let's do this. Basically, no matter what it takes, construct some bullshit to, just figure out whatever it takes for us to be with Raycom. So yeah,
Look,
just absolutely ridiculous.
Let me remind everybody watching this that when 2002 came around, we didn't have text messaging. So nowadays we love to pull up the text message, we love to read the emails, but we didn't have this. Some people are like, how can you be basing your complaint on newspaper articles? That was the modern day version of text messages. Swofford is admitting to the exact things that Florida State is accusing him in a published and printed article. And back then, if you didn't agree with something that was published, you would write the publisher and say, hey, this was incorrect. I need you to print a retraction, a correction on page 2 of the next issue. So there is some degree of validity in what was published and what was made public. This is the example of today having a text message saying, yep, we're more interested in making sure Raycom survives than protecting the interest and getting the maximum dollar value. This is damning stuff.
Wow, they paid about $50 million to ESPN for those rights, and then the ACC members never saw any part of that payment, which would have been $3 million per member back then. And to this day, it's just continued to escalate and escalate thanks to that sweetheart deal that our buddy John Swofford did. It's like you said, they printed it in a paper. It's like so damning in today's world. If this was like relevant, like when that paper came out and he said that, oh my gosh, John Swofford would have been out on his butt so fast. But it's like, man, the fact that it could just be done back then, just in front of everybody's eyes. And it's not like we weren't talking about it. It's not like Florida State fans weren't, the Tomahawk Nations of the time back then were just on it. We all knew, like, oh yeah, it's the best like the biggest contract ever for media rights. We all knew it was just because it was 30 years and the SECs, it was biggest, but just barely. It's one of those things where you barely reset the market before the cap goes up. And, it's crazy. These other people have had the chance to, they've got the chance to redo their contracts multiple times since then. It really does make you sick.
So this is where the timing comes back into this also. This is in 2010 when the first ACC ESPN Raycom agreement went into effect. Then in the very next board meeting in September of 2011 is when they voted to increase or to create these sanctions penalizing the withdrawing members. And it was that at that time in September when they amended the Constitution and settled on this idea of 1.25 times the annual budget. That would be what was called the liquidated damages provision. So they took the time, which was appropriate, and in a contract form, which was appropriate, and determined what the damages would be, which was appropriate. And that's one of the things that FSU is seizing on then to have this conversation about what is a liquidated damages clause and what is a punitive penalty that violates Florida laws against open trade and free commerce. So we go from 1.25 to 2 years later, 3 times our operating budget to now 3 times our operating budget plus the grant of right penalties of forfeiting all of your rights through the extension of that 2036 contract. And that is exactly the crux of this litigation. That right there is the bottom line. Forget all this other really exciting, fun stuff to talk about. That's where this litigation is about. How do you go from 1.25 to 3 to $574 million and claim that this is just liquidated damages?
Facts. Guys, time has absolutely flown by. We've got like 32 minutes left. I'm going to throw the number up. I can't guarantee that how many people will get through, but we'll try and take a couple callers before this is all done. I'm going to finish scrolling this thing down so everybody will have a chance to go back and read it if they want. But for now, James or Jen, whichever one of y'all has a question, I
actually got to bounce. Hopefully I get you on. I think Danielle talked about trying to get you and her both on tomorrow sometime, Doug.
That'd be great, James. I'd love to do that.
All right. Cool. All right, George. All right, Jen.
Appreciate you, brother. That's at Den Media Group. So
Hi,
yeah,
James.
check. We may have a double lawyer episode over there to go check out tomorrow. We sure appreciate you joining us, man.
But I need y'all to join a little bit slower because I don't get my marketing checks until like next week. So like, if y'all get me over, I don't have money to pay this week and next week because the way my checking and my savings is set up. See, I got to put money in my savings. I got to transfer it to my checking, and then it takes a couple of days. I just want to be truthful. So like, look, join it.
It'll get there. It'll get there.
Yeah. All right.
Quick, George, before you take the next call, the last thing I really wanted to focus in on next was this paragraph 54. Okay. This is really because again, everything goes back to what did the ACC know? How did they know? How can we prove that they know? This one is where we really show how the ACC botched the negotiations, because in 2010, this ACC ESPN deal was worth $155 million. And the very next year, yes, this was a shock. This was, oh my gosh, but the Pac-12 signed a Fox deal for $250 million.
Damn.
And yes, that did reset the market. That's exactly why you don't enter into 15-year contracts. It took all of 12 months for the ACC contract back in 2010 to be irrelevant and basically underperforming. So in 2010, in 2011, this was a bad deal. You fast forward to that to 2023 with this 4.5% escalation clause annually, and that's why this litigation is so strong for FSU.
Yeah, basically exactly what we were just talking about. They put it in writing. It's like, it's ridiculous. It didn't take a year. And where's the Pac-12 now? I mean, that 12-year deal was a life sentence, was a death sentence. It's like, it's crazy. There's only a few more paragraphs after that. We've got a caller, and I'll keep scrolling down through here. But you're live with the Renegade Rundown. Do you have a question for Doug or Jen or myself?
Yeah, so this is Nick. Kind of a general question for everyone. Doug, you're doing the God's honest work right now. Appreciate it. But how many more skeletons do you guys think are in the closet? Because this is a huge shoe that dropped, and I have no doubt that there's more rounds in the chamber, so to speak.
Appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna hang up and let Doug get to it.
I don't know. We don't know what we don't know. That's the fun part about litigation. That's why there is discovery. Someone was talking about, these are just newspaper clippings. They don't mean anything. No, these are newspaper clippings that memorialized a conversation. So now you bring Skipper in for a deposition. Say, Skipper, back in 2012, were you sitting on a front porch in North Carolina talking to John Swofford? Well, yes, I was. Well, damn. Now let's talk about what y'all were talking about. So absolutely, all of this is very valid, very interesting. And I haven't perused all the message boards. I don't remember what we were talking about in 2012, 2013, 2014. All I know is we were winning championships and we had the most eyeballs in the country on us, and we're in the fourth highest paid contract in all of the media markets. So I think there is more interesting stuff. But again, what I said earlier was really why I'm so excited about reading through this. Normally people talk a big game in the court of public opinion, but then when the lawsuit actually comes, people kind of pull their punches. People kind of hold back. They don't necessarily go for the jugular. Florida State woke up last night and said, screw it, we're going all in. So yeah, this is really hard-hitting information. These are big revelations, and they're memorialized. They're not just some guys talking on message boards, trying to talk up a big game. These are court filings. You're alleging to the court that this is accurate information and that the facts and evidence are going to bear this out. And yeah, I don't think FSU is holding back anything that they can document and prove.
Yeah, and the rest of this document basically goes into what we were just saying a minute ago. Basically, excuse me, I got a little thrown off. I didn't even realize Jen had fallen off. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
How long were you gone? Jeez.
Just like maybe 10 seconds.
Oh, okay, good.
My internet kind of went in and out, so.
But basically what this thing was saying is just like we talked about. It was no mystery that the thing was bullshit. Forbes did a 3, article release on this, breaking it all down, how basically it was a bunch of shit. There's conspiracy theories even back then about his Chad being at Raycom and the 4 North Carolina schools, Skipper being in North Carolina, the whole 9 yards. So this wasn't like, this was all known. The Pac-12, the Big 12, their contracts immediately killed ours even back then. And those, looking back, those were terrible contracts too. It's like they just figured out how to really screw. They learned with the Pac-12 and the Big 12, like really how to screw FSU even better. And it's like they just had a guy at the top who just had no interest in improving the ACC. It was all, and I mean, it can't get any more clear. It was all about his son. That's all there is to it. His son, and half the conference will be happy because they got a big endowment and they could give 2 shits about football. It's like,
And what was the ACC's response to the criticism? It wasn't to go back and renegotiate the deal. It wasn't to work harder. It was to simply barricade the doors and stop people from leaving the conference. That's all that it was. And that's why this could be a very successful litigation.
No doubt. It's really hard to imagine. But again, this thing is huge. The filing, you can go check it out. We really appreciate Doug coming on. The lines are open. We've got about 25 more minutes on the show. We usually only do 2 hours. This is a special 3-hour stream just because we had so many people that wanted to talk. Me and Jen hadn't got to talk to you guys in so long. So get those questions in. Welcome back, Jen. Do you have any questions? Anything you've been wanting to get in?
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on? So I feel like this amendment was Florida State saying, this is what we've got. This is what we're going to clean up here. Y'all tried to lower this bomb on us, but in reality, you're just clowns. That's what I feel like they were saying in this amendment. Again, I know I'm looking through it during like garnet and gold glasses. I totally get that. But I think for me, the ACC is so poorly run. It's so ridiculous. It's so awful. It's been that way for years. And then the fact that North Carolina's, their chancellor came out and said what he said.
Oh yeah, the North Carolina comments. How big is that in the whole?
Which is,
I think
hang
it's
on, George.
Oh, I'm
Hang
sorry.
on.
I'm sorry.
I wanna preface this with the fact that every sports media person said Florida State was being awful, selfish, a bull in the china cabinet. They shouldn't be rattling any cages, considering they hadn't won the ACC in football since 2013. Now, again, someone remind me in the chat when North Carolina won the ACC in football, because they said exactly what Florida State said. And I'm not seeing the Pat Forties and the Dan Wetzels clutching their pearls whining about this. So again, what's North Carolina brought to the table in football? Am I wrong on anything I just said?
You're right in that North Carolina is laying the groundwork to do exactly what Florida State is doing as well.
Absolutely.
They are a better product and have more recently been ranked in the top 5 than Miami. So they've at least got that going for them. Of course, we beat them when they're ranked in the top 5. But
And they beat
nevertheless, look,
Miami,
this for 10 years, we talked about the ACC being a basketball conference. And that has been the foundation. This has been about Tobacco Road since the beginning. Florida State has been the redheaded stepchild all along. It's just now we're tired of sitting in a corner and waiting our turn. They have made it to the point where we can't continue on the path that we're on. And again, I go back to something I said on our show last time. Okay, what's the worst case scenario if we lose? We're stuck in the conference. Okay, that's what we're going to do right now if we don't litigate. Maybe we have to pay some attorney's fees. FSU doesn't lose anything by engaging in this process, but there sure as heck are a lot of people in the ACC that could lose.
Yeah, I think this the shocking thing about it was just with how tied into North Carolina, and like we've talked about, all the ties to it, be it Skipper, the Swoffords, et cetera, et cetera. The fact that it was North Carolina to come out and pretty much say the same exact things we were talking about and how Jen alluded to, it just seems like in the court of even like around that North Carolina thing, if you have to go do much litigating up there, FSU's lawyers can be like, look, even North Carolina is out here publicly saying that this is, this can't move forward. So in the grander scheme of opinion, I know it's not necessarily like you can like something you can stick some, it's not a law, but it's like it just goes to that much more credibility, I guess, to Florida State's case, that saying basically, look, they're dying. Like it's just, we're just asking to get out of a ship that is going down. There's no chance for it to succeed. You can't get no more into the ACC than UNC. I mean, they literally colored the conferences after the school. I mean, that's just my guess. Probably not, but
I saw somebody else post this earlier, and there have been so many posts. I wish I could give credit to the person who posted it. But let me remind you that I am a Florida State graduate, a Florida State fan. I bleed garnet and gold. Yes, I'm coming at this from a homeristic standpoint. With that being said, do you think North Carolina would have said word one if they weren't independently sitting aside watching what was happening and didn't think FSU had a chance?
No.
That's an independent institution. That's another group of very smart people that are looking at this without the garnet and gold glasses on, saying, you know what? Florida State's kind of got a point here, and maybe we should start talking about that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. And I think the ACC is more of the polite Southern people. Is there? I think of the ACC as the WASPs, as I would say. The SEC is Southern women. The ACC is the WASPs, which I usually get called a WASP a lot, even though I'm very Southern. But it's because you kind of like put things away. You have your martini or your glass of wine or whatever, and you sweep all problems under the rug. Everything is with a smile, right? That's what a WASP is. That's what the ACC is. They want to sit there and pretend that everything is great, everything's glorious, everything's wonderful, yet they're not even winning in basketball anymore. Guys, I don't know if anybody needs to hear that news, but they're not even doing that anymore. They suck in literally everything except for soccer and softball. So if we want to make money in a conference, you're going to have to put money where the money gets made. Wake Forest, I'm talking to you. You know, Syracuse, I like your new hire. I like it, but you're going to have to do better. Okay. Virginia Tech, ugh. Miami, ugh, even worse. Like, y'all all have to start, like, somebody start doing something, or else this conference wouldn't be shit. But it is. And guess what? Florida State's out. Y'all are all stuck here. Have fun. Have a great night. Tip your waitresses. We'll be here all night. Have a good one.
Absolutely. So just backing up a little bit, the BOT meeting, obviously this was part of it. Looking backwards, we were hoping this was part of it, but kind of the public and stuff we could talk about, it was kind of around funding. That was the thing about it, of how they would fundle a settlement and stuff, and approving, funds, whether they have to go private, different equity things. And there's been some different stories out saying that back all the way to 2022, they started, looking into this, where they could get money through these different places, be it, I'm trying to think of like JP Morgan, 6th Street Financial, State Street, some of these hedge funds in these big places like that, if they'd be able to do that. So my thing is, what you said was, what's the worst case scenario? You're stuck in the ACC? Well, you'd be in the ACC anyway. It's kind of my contention that even like worst case scenario, you got to spend $500 million over the years. I think Florida State's getting ready to, they would do that. I think worst case scenario, you spend $600 million and you're in the Big Ten. I really feel like that. Am I a little too, what's the word I'm looking for here? Am I a little too ahead of myself on thinking that? Full of myself or whatever?
The money doesn't work at those numbers. The money's works at 200 million, at 150 million, maybe. If we didn't have a strong case, the money might work at 300 million. At 550 to 600 million, it doesn't make sense to leave, and we just have to be patient and wait it out. Because again, what the reason why they're attacking this and approaching this is they're looking at the mathematical difference.
You'll have to really get into that, because we've really said the opposite, and I just don't. $50 million a year, that would literally be paid off in less than a decade. So I'm not getting the I, dotting the I or crossing the T on that.
So right now, remember, we don't have to pay anything to get out of the Big Ten other than the $120 million. We are giving up our rights for all of our home games through 2036. So we don't have to have the money on hand. What we do need to do is have a budget for our athletic department to survive. So that's where the private equity comes in. That's where the funding comes in from these other institutions. But all that's going to happen if we leave and lose the grant of rights litigation is that we don't get our rights for the period up to 2036. Now, think about the second part of that. We leave and go to the Big Ten, where we are alleging that we are entitled to $30 million a year instead of $12 or $18 million a year. That money goes to the ACC. We're not getting $30 million and paying them $12 million. We have given a grant of rights. Whatever we earn from our home game, television rights, we are giving to the ACC. The second part of that is the numbers were just come out today by two different groups that put together the analysis. The gap in 2029, so this year, while we're still going 7 years before the grant of rights expires, the gap in 2029 is $30 million. So at $30 million through the next 6 years after that, it doesn't total $600 million.
That's fair. That's very fair. And we'll keep going. And not to, when I just told you to go on forever, but we have like a kind of like thing that happens here every once in a while that we have to stop the show. We've got this guy, Tiny Hat. So he's here wanting to do his thing. So
here we go. Yes. What is going on, Renegade Report? Tiny Hat Gang, we are in here. The CEO is present. I'll tell you this right now. The Tiny Hat for today is a black skull cap with the brim hanging off to the right-hand side because we are coming to fight. Listen, I just listened to what the big dog lawyer's been saying, and I'm telling you this right now. This is very simple. What we're looking at right now is that Florida State is, this is like the movie Friday. Florida State is Craig, and the ACC thought they were Debo. And Craig picked up that brick, slung that across the block, and knocked them upside their damn head. And now that everybody else on the block is like, oh snap, these guys can't really stand up. They don't have the hands that they thought. And now Florida State is showing the rest of college football that when we ready to get something done, when you do us dirty, we coming for that neck. And that's what we doing right now. We cracked them over the head. They laying down on the ground. We got red, which is UNC. They oh wow, Debo got knocked out. They already snatched my chain, so let me go get my punch in too. After I saw Florida State step in and do something. You got Clemson acting like Smokey. They gonna run up after Debo already knocked out, and they gonna put their hands in the pocket to take their little $200 back and try to go run off wherever they can go. And what happens when Florida State has finished this fight here? We gonna stand up, we gonna smile, and we gonna wrap our arms around the big, beautiful Nia Long, aka the Big Ten, and she gonna walk us over to her place, massage our back, put some food in our bellies, and let us rest on our laurels after this big fight that we had to show the neighborhood that Florida State is still dominating the game out here, baby. I'm telling you right now, I'm loving everything that I'm hearing. Florida State's about to dominate college football this season with no drop off, and we showing everybody else. When you think that the Florida State Seminoles are down, that Chief Osceola comes out there, Renegade comes out there, we throw that spear in the ground, we light that mug on fire, and we show everybody that we still here. We still standing. We still strong. Tiny Hat Gang, we out. Go Noles, baby.
Appreciate you, dog, man. I was not ready for the Friday metaphors, for the Friday base rant. Bam, again, sorry to cut you off right when I was like, you're going to have to like really give me something. But you did. I always forget that it's not as simple as, you know, losing out on the money, but you actually have to pay in. So it's compounding. So you're right. They would have to they'd have to win part of it. They'd have to at least get that through to get out of that somehow. So yeah, you're right there. I guess I'm just so wanting to get out of this thing, and I just don't see any way I could get out. But you're right. If it went down that track, we would be screwed. There is that worst case scenario out there. So I need to calm down a little bit.
Let me give you one thing to flip your energy, to make you feel better, because I feel the angst. If you scroll on down to paragraph 115, this is where the nuclear option comes in. This is where discovery gets fun. This is where the lawsuit goes from, no, you didn't do what you should have done, to now you done messed up. Swofford feigns an ESPN ultimatum and negotiates a disastrous Tier 1 deal. Florida State is putting in writing to the court that Swofford lied. That's what they're saying here. Swofford invented this idea of ESPN coming in and issuing an ultimatum. Sorry, boys, you've got to sign this contract, because if not, ESPN's out. And you know what that means. If ESPN's out, then we're done, and you're all going to get left high and dry. They're alleging that was made up. You tell me there's going to be depositions and discovery that prove that Swofford lied to their members to get them to sign a piece of paper? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Somebody posted earlier today, the ACC is going to pay us to leave.
Yeah, that was the bomb for me today. That was what made me just go, whoa, what? Because they honestly cannot put that in their I mean, nobody worth their salt would have them put that in a filing unless there was evidence of this, correct? Okay.
They definitely have something. This is not nothing.
Something. It's not going to be just an article that was online, whatever. There's going to be something that is between, I would guess, a Swofford and maybe either a conference member or a media member. That's what I would say that they have. Because you can't just come in with what they said and say, this is what they told me, because, then we're talking here saying all these other things. So what I'm saying is you've got definitive proof, whether it's a text, an email, somebody willing to be deposed that will go on the stand, will say, hey, you told me this, not, and look at the person and say, hey, you told me this, right, in a deposition or whatever. But that's what really made me just go, whoa, was that, because they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that unless they have the proof, unless, like I said, and I want to see it. But again, was this, to me, it was
And what
Florida
slide
State
was that?
looking,
115.
115.
Paragraph 115. But
to me, it was
remember,
Florida State
Jen,
looking at the ACC saying, try me.
remember,
I'm
ESPN is a big company, a big, robust operation with vice presidents and board members and all kinds of staff. Nobody does anything without direction, and that means that there are memoranda that will be discoverable. Or perhaps I'll couch that in terms of they're non-party, so third-party discovery, but there will be memorandums talking about what is the authority to negotiate, what is on the table. None of these conversations happen in person without first the legal department drafting up a framework for what these negotiations are going to be. And it's going to be very simple. If there was an offer, if there was an ultimatum, let's see the documents related to the board discussions and ESPN conversations about how there was an ultimatum. And absent documentation showing that there was an ultimatum, there wasn't an ultimatum.
Yeah, facts. That's where it come in right here. It's pretty ridiculous, you know. It's like we get that whole punch in the gut about the thing, and then they hit him with this ultimatum. I had it and I just lost it. Which one was
Well,
it?
I mean, again, I don't think the ACC wants the grant of rights to be opened up. I don't think they want that litigation. I don't think they want it to go down the path of opening it up for any sort of litigation or arguing or meeting or whatever you want to call it, right? I don't think that's what they want at this point, because if Florida State's able to open that up, if they're able to argue points saying that these are incorrect, this point is incorrect, this is not really a contract, right? I think that opens the door for more teams to do exactly what Florida State's doing. And I think the ACC wants to keep that under control. I think at the end of the day, they're going to get out for their buyout fee plus maybe a year or two of the grant of rights. That's what I'm thinking right now. And I think Florida State would take that deal.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. I think what we're looking at is what, 120 for the buyout. And I would say with the 2027 stuff that they don't want to open, they don't want to open that. They don't. They do not. They don't want to open the fact that ESPN can leave. I really don't see it. And so I would say maybe 160. I think 160 million is going to be the settlement at this point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I've said publicly on Twitter that my guess was somewhere between 150 and 160, and that it will be announced after the August 15th threshold for making the announcement to leave. So that they'll drag this out just long enough to get past that date, so that FSU has to play the 2024 and 2025 season.
Is that what they're playing for? They're playing for one more year?
I think so.
I don't think they want Florida State for one more year. I don't think so. I think they've got those overseas games. I think they've got some things that Florida State's involved with. And if they're involved with, they're going to lose money when Florida State pulls out, right, for that 2025 year. Because I think you've got Alabama. Wait, are we doing Alabama or Georgia first? It's Alabama. Alabama first.
2025, 2026.
I know the ACC wants that money from that. But I think Florida State would also maybe cancel. I mean,
Alabama.
I don't know,
because they're scared. They're scared.
Oh,
we'll be fresh. We'll be fresh off a championship game appearance. Whether I'm not saying we're going to win in 2024.
You heard it here first. Book those tickets to Charlotte now. Yeah, I agree. That's what I predicted as well.
I forgot to ask James about the a hotel for the spring game.
I'll connect y'all. We'll get it figured out. Or just shoot him a message on somewhere. I'll hook y'all up. Yeah, you're a member of his channel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even like, it won't even be like a hookup. That's like something he literally does for his members. So he should be able to definitely hook you up with those.
I was just wondering what the name of the hotel was. Is it Hotel Indigo? Because
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it or not, Jen.
oh, okay, my bad.
But definitely, I may be totally wrong and it's totally out there in the public, but it's definitely it's the Players Hotel. It's like the official hotel, but I don't know if they try to keep it a secret or whatever. But Spearatics Media with a comment. If what I thinks comes out, FSU gets out for $0 and it's before August 15th, but only if it comes out.
So I
Can't wait.
100%
Let's
agree
go.
with Chris on this. However, it's not going to come out, and I think what's going to happen is FSU and the ACC are going to negotiate that down. So I 100% agree with you. If it came out and it came out in court and everything, was done, yes. But it's not going to get.
I want to hear this now. Let's go. I want to hear this now.
Man, there's so much at play, like we've talked about with Discovery. Like, if you don't think we don't hear different shit, and you don't hear about, oh, well, this person was dating that person back in that time, and this and that. Like, there's just so much. That's why I hate it. We sound like a broken record, but there's just so much that went down. And if it's this obvious from the outset, if there's 3 Forbes, magazine articles, if there's 10 that Bud Elliott and, Ingram Smith did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, talking about it, if everybody in the world with any sense knew that it was shit and it was, all these things, it's like, I mean, it just depends, I guess, on the judge. If we got a judge who, for whatever reason, is ensnared in that, circle, if you will, if somehow they're a part of that country club, I guess we're in trouble. But yeah, according to Chris, and I totally agree, the cards FSU showed today isn't scratching the surface. Yeah, there's only so much you can put out. Like, you're gonna put out. You're not gonna show your hands. It's like, all right, ACC, y'all want to push it? Those cards are the ones that get paid in the courtroom or like in official capacity, to where it's like, oh shit, game over. But yeah, I agree with Jen. My guess has been like around 125 million, and we get out by 2025. But hell, I'll take 0.
I think they're going to get out by 2025, and I think that's what's going to cost them the money. I think if they let it go out a little bit longer, they probably could get it down a little bit lower. I think they want out. I think they want out now, and I do think they're out by 2025 because I don't think the ACC wants them there anymore. I think they're bad-mouthing the ACC. I don't think they're helping the ACC at all. I don't think they're going to help them in the playoff scenario because the ACC didn't bother to help them either. So it's called reciprocity. People, look it up. And if you don't like it, there you go. So,
and let me be clear to talk about that point you were addressing earlier. It is very typical for attorneys to have private conversations that include details that are not in the public domain. It's very common to not have everything out there. That's why even today's this filing was pretty revealing, because they are naming names, and it's if there is more being held back, then man, there's a lot more than I realized. And at the end of the day, they're having those private conversations in the boardrooms and in the hallways before the mediation and during the discussions. But to get to Allison's question real quick, this does not change the date of the answers. Answers are still due on February 16th.
Facts. And I want to remind everybody, like, we're right kind of at the end. The phone line is open. I know Doug's against his hard cutoff at 10. Do you have to get you ready to roll, or do you got to go, don't you, buddy?
If you got 1 or 2 questions, that's fine.
That's up to you, man. And they may not even call. I was just going to give them a couple minutes if they wanted to try to get one in, but you're more than welcome to roll. Me and Jen are crazy. We'll sit here for 4 hours and just keep talking. And there's plenty of people in here, so we probably will after you go. So don't think we're like trying to hold you here. When you got to roll,
there's more people on now than there were earlier. There more and more people keep jumping on.
It's how it goes, man. I love it. Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we're very popular. So
Yes,
it's
of
just-
course.
it
And of
is
course,
what it
Doug
is.
being on here. So you guys heard it. He's about to get off here. You might be able to get you a question in. So speak now or forever hold your peace. You can call the bat phone right now and get a question in for Doug before he heads out of here. And we got, there's only going to be another 10, 15 minutes probably with me and Jen either. So definitely get your questions in here. Speak now or forever hold your peace. We haven't let you do your thing. Let the people know where they can find you, since there's more people in here than there has been all night, about your practice and what you've got going on.
I appreciate that. We're out of Atlanta, Georgia. I know it's not Florida, but I did spend my 4 years of undergrad and 3 years of law school in Tallahassee. I was in the Marching Chiefs. I met my wife in the Marching Chiefs. We have Marching Chief babies. We go back for all the games, Bowden Society members and Rising Spear and all that good stuff. We've spent a lot of time and effort in helping to build the Florida State culture in our family as well. And we love FSU and what it has to offer. So here I am in Atlanta with the largest Atlanta or a Seminole organization outside the state of Florida with the Atlanta Seminole Boosters here. And I'm just an attorney with his own practice. I've got 3 associates that work for me in my firm doing personal injury, work accidents, and criminal defense. So if you're in Georgia and you find yourself in some really bad situations, whether you've been hurt or been arrested, and you want a Nole to walk alongside you, we're here to be your best friends on your worst day.
And that's how we found, Doug, obviously seen around, at games and stuff, and then on the timeline. So really cool. Like, that's what we have. We have people on here that love Florida State and they want to see it do well. We're also not going to bullshit you. He's going to give you the worst case scenario, not going to blow smoke up your butt, but we do, like, that's kind of the thing. We're not going to break a story just to break news to hurt the program or this or that. We really love Florida State. We want to see it put its best foot forward but also give you the best facts we can. King Spleen has a good one. I think I missed this question earlier. Could you address the lack of language of trade secrets, and non-disclosure within the amended file?
The ACC's amended complaint alleged that Florida State was violating trade secrets and was breaking its contract, its agreement to not disclose certain material facts about the case and the investigation. The truth is that the bylaws, the grant of rights, all the documents that we have access to, there is nothing in there about trade secrets and being silent. Now, we know that the grant of rights is under lock and key. We know that we have to schedule an appointment to review it. We know that we have to be observed while we're reviewing it. They might even tell us while we're there, shh, don't tell anybody about this. But nothing in any of the written documents that have been made part of this litigation have any expression of secrecy or privacy on the part of Florida State as a duty owed to the ACC. So once again, in reading the 2 legal teams' approaches to this matter, it really feels very one-sided, and maybe I'm being a homer, maybe I'm not seeing it, but it's just everything that ACC files is nana boo-boo, and everything that Florida State files is pit bull with teeth showing, drooling, and chomping at the bit, trying to get out of this conference and ready to really mess somebody up. And I'd rather be on the FSU side of this than the ACC side of this, because I don't think it's going to end well for the ACC.
Facts, man. Well, I appreciate you. I'll leave you with this, man. I kind of see it as Florida State, and disclaimer, I'm not calling the ACC racist or anything like that. It feels like the ACC's whole case is, but like Jim Crow says, you're not allowed to drink at the same water fountain. It's in the contract right there. You can't even ask to drink out of it. You can't. It doesn't matter. So like that's what their whole argument seems to be about. Not any, like you just said, nothing on the merits of it, nothing on what actually happened. Just, well, we tricked you into signing it here. So it is what it is. So yeah, I agree, man. I love hitting that point. But I know you've got to get out of here. We sure appreciate you, brother. Yeah, go Noles, man.
Talk to you later.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye.
Jen, we've got 193 in here. Y'all
Yeah.
being awful quiet. Okay. We appreciate you guys for joining us. We said we were going to do a 3-hour episode. It's literally 3 hours and 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
I know, and I've got a heart out.
That's
too,
right. That's right. We don't have much time. We do. Jen has a heart out. So yeah, bam, you guys about got it. You want to be ready to call this thing?
We can. I gotta
'Cause
go
you've
watch
got-
Vanderpump, guys. I gotta go watch Vanderpump Rules.
Vanderpump Rules. I keep forgetting. Maybe
I
I'll watch
do.
it just so I can like shock you with some takes tomorrow.
Well, you'd have to start. I mean, you're welcome to watch this episode if you'd like. I feel like you might be a little confused and then be like, why are these girls being so bitchy to this poor little, baby?
So it's like a
bitch, as we would
fictional
call
thing?
her.
Or is it like a
No,
reality
it's
show?
reality. It's
Okay.
reality.
I was a bit
Oh,
confused
sort
on
of.
whether is it like scripted reality show, like I'll just have to watch it. I'll have to watch it. I'll try to figure out what the jokes are about.
You can call it fictional reality if you want to. I agree with that, but I'm not going to say that out loud.
Yeah, we don't have to tell the trade secrets. It's like when you talk about wrestling, we all know it's fake, but we ain't got to talk about it. I love Sonya's comment.
I'm sorry. Stone Cold was awesome, and he was the best wrestler ever. So I don't know what you're talking
Stone Cold Steve Austin 316.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved that shit when he
Yeah.
was trapping dudes with like nets and stuff, filling Vince McMahon's limo up with concrete and all those stuff. Man, I loved those days. The 90s, there was nothing like WWF, man. When it went to WWE, everything went to shit.
The glass breaking. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Like, stop, guys. Like, I love it. I love it.
You know, an ass whipping's coming when you hear that grass break. But man, we absolutely love you guys. Go Noles. What do we have planned? Friday, I don't think we have anything in specifically planned. It'll either just be me and Jen, or who knows, maybe somebody will join us. Sunday, we have 2 awesome high school coaches. I don't really want to mess up their names, but one of them is a coach, Godinet, out of Virginia. He jumped on a space with me and Antonio Cromartie and some couple people about maybe 3 weeks ago, and we had an awesome conversation going back and forth and trading ideas. So I really want to get him on. He's an associate coach somewhere, like I said, a school in Virginia. Can't wait to get him on. And also another guy out on the West Coast that coached Toko, Sione Lolohea, the defensive end we signed out of Oregon State with DJU. He coached him in high school, and I believe he is the offensive coordinator. If I butchered that, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, his name is George. He's a Greek like me. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. I'm not ready. But George and Coach Godinet are both going to join us Sunday, and we're going to have an awesome conversation about kind of this whole era of recruiting and what's going on right now in football. And like I said, one coached a former player, and another one is a big FSU guy that really follows FSU's roster. And like, I love the ideas he has, and then I could talk to him all day. So George and Coach Godinet, we'll look forward to seeing them Sunday. Wednesday, catch us on the Voice of College Football at 6 Eastern over there with Mark Rogers. And obviously we'll see you Friday. We'll probably also drop the second half of the Freddie Stevenson interview sometime this week, probably about Wednesday or Thursday. But Jen, did you have anything for the people before we left?
Nope. Just stay tuned. Like I said, Friday, always keep a watch on, what we're doing on social media. We'll be live for you guys on Friday and Sunday. And, never know what else comes up.
All right. I will love it. I love it. And I'm going to we got all kind of good things in the works, guys. We appreciate you guys for hanging up with us as we grow and things change. We're going to leave you with the Carlos Williams preview because it's one of the videos I have logged up, and I love that song by our guy bashing all these other schools. So we'll leave you with that, and we will see you guys Friday.
In the road tide. Fuck Tuscaloosa in every city that's close by. Bitch ass hillbilly redneck fans. Auburn almost caught y'all slacking like dress pants. Michigan trash, they ain't got a damn chance. Only Wolverine I respect is X-Man. Keen ass coach got exposed, still in plays. Damn.